Before returning to the college entrance exam, I became popular in the scientific community. Greetings, fellow multiversal adventurers. It's an honor to have you back in this saga that has us all hooked. Official channel statement: this story is 100% epic fiction, so please don't attempt real magic. The results aren't guaranteed and insurance won't cover it. The rights to this masterpiece belong entirely to its brilliant original author. We are just a barge sharing it with you. Do you want to keep being part of this amazing community? Join our ninja army of subscribers on YouTube and give this content a like. And for true fans, our Patreon has exclusive ninjutsu waiting for you. Chapter 176: Gathering Strength. Half of the funding was settled. Chu Hengin and Lin Hemming exchanged a glance. The remaining pressure on the Research and Development Department and the Aviation Group was minimal, so with both parties splitting the bill equally, all the funding was secured. This time, the Air Force and Artillery were much more generous than they had expected, shouldering nearly half the burden. It seemed that the allure of super missiles, super fuel, and super ammunition was particularly compelling for these armed forces, easing much of their financial pressure. It's settled. The PL-15 project has been approved, and Wu Tong will be the project lead. Chu Hengin gave further instructions as the meeting concluded. Everyone knows the confidentiality regulations. Beyond the door of the conference room, not even a single word about Wu Tong can be uttered in your dreams. The child is still young, and we elders must protect him. Such a top talent would be a national treasure anywhere. However, if their national treasures could not be obtained otherwise, the continued harm and destruction would be inevitable. Their treasures must be protected, and not a single iota of damage could be tolerated. The importance of confidentiality was clear to all attendees, who had participated in classified projects more than once. Is security guaranteed at the 624th Institute? If necessary, I'll send a special forces regiment over to provide security. With so much money being spent, the project and Wu Tong must be protected, Leader Wu asked bluntly. He was eager for super fuel and super explosives, and even more eager for Wu Tong to come and provide guidance once he had the results, so the artillery could also reach new heights. They couldn't just let the Air Force take advantage. It was just a coincidence that Wu Tong had just started working in the aerospace field. If Zizhao couldn't provide adequate protection for a child like him, they wouldn't mind covering the gap. The attendees applauded and celebrated, hoping Wu Tong would surprise them again. Let them be greedy, hoping that China would achieve self-reliance and achieve greater success. All parties worked swiftly, and within 3 days, all funds were collected and allocated to the PL-15 project team's official account. With the funds in place, Wu Tong could officially begin his experiments. During the 3 days of waiting for project approval and funding, Wu Tong was also busy. She worked with Hua Yangxing and the core project team engineers she had identified to gradually explain the principles of the scramjet engine and all nitrogen compounds, including the preparation protocols and experimental procedures. This ensured that the core researchers had a clear understanding of their respective areas, laying a solid foundation for the smooth progress of the experiments. Wu Tong, the funding has arrived, Hua Yangxing excitedly announced upon receiving the notification. Her excitement wasn't about the side of money, but about finally having the funds to begin experiments. The more she delved into the project, the more she felt the superiority of the engine and high-energy materials Wu Tong had derived, validating the rationality and unconventional creativity of her deductions. She couldn't wait to begin the experiments, to see the real thing in front of them and verify its performance. Okay, President Hu, let's begin preparing the materials and equipment and begin the experiments. Wu Tong was equally eager to try, hoping to quickly validate her design in real life and contribute to national scientific research. The engine segment was a major undertaking, and immediate results wouldn't be achieved overnight. Hua Yangxing and Wu Tong agreed to begin with all nitrogen compounds, as this would yield the fastest results. Nitrogen could be prepared directly, and graphene films were also obtained from a specialized laboratory. This wasn't a major undertaking. They had already prepared the necessary materials in advance. They had also refined the design of the specialized preparation equipment during their discussions over the past few days. The preparation facilities, including the gas pipelines and vacuum pumps, were readily available. The most challenging aspect of the entire experiment lay in the specialized filtration reduction membrane. With funding secured, various experimental equipment was gradually delivered to the core laboratory area of the 624th Institute, including the seconded professionals. All personnel, including the seconded professionals, were dispatched and deployed. While awaiting funding, they had communicated with each other in advance, and upon receiving the funds, they were immediately notified of the funds. All preparations were carried out at lightning speed. With everything in place, Wu Tong personally conducted the experiments, bringing with him the seconded polymer laboratory personnel. After a series of preparations, they ultimately produced the required batch of silicon hexaoxide. Several key researchers assisting with the experiment gazed with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation at the white, flour-like, slightly translucent powder. Was this the miraculous molecular material they'd been hoping for? Could it be the crucial medium capable of achieving the miraculous reduction and filtration effects predicted by chief designer Wu? Put it on the lens. Wu Tong smeared some of the target product onto a glass slide and placed it under a specialized lens for examination. A few minutes later, Tao Ran, who was operating the lens, excitedly exclaimed, "Boss Wu, my God, I see it. It's the hexagonal honeycomb silica product you predicted." Wu Tong's predictions materialized with miraculous accuracy, and the entire group of researchers cheered with euphoria. As the first witness of a miracle, Tao Ran's excitement was uncontrollable, and he began to call out random names, spouting all his usual nicknames. Even in such a rigorous setting, no one found these terms inappropriate. Wasn't Wu Tong's predictions akin to miracles? The first item had become a reality in their hands. With step-by-step implementation, how far could the rest be? Everyone firmly answered that it wasn't far off. They would work overtime to catch up and witness the miracle. Hu Yangxing, waiting nearby, couldn't help but shake Xu Yingquan's hand, his eyes gleaming with excitement as he gave Wu Tong another tight hug. "Wu Tong, I knew it, I knew you could do it. You're the best." Wu Tong had proven once again that her choice was right. Her hopes were about to become reality. What Wu Tong presented her had surpassed her initial expectations. Initially, she had only hoped that the PL-15 air-to-air missile could transcend ordinary limitations and potentially catch up with world-leading technology. But Wu Tong had given her the expectation of surpassing it. Let's just enjoy the excitement for now and continue the testing. Once the PL-15 is launched, we can celebrate. Wu Tong returned the hug to the veteran who had dedicated most of his life to the country in obscurity, offering a gentle, comforting smile, fearing that excessive excitement might harm Hu Yangxing's health. For those who spend years toiling away in the lab, working day and night shifts, physical fitness is paramount, and excessive emotional fluctuations are undesirable. Okay, Hu Yangxing said 3 okays in quick succession, released Wu Tong, and continued to wait for the next experiment. Chapter 177 Brand new. Prepare for deposition. The medium had been developed, but the next step, combining it with a graphene film to form a thin film, was the next major challenge. At Wu Tong's command, the lab's auxiliary experimental staff sprang into action. They followed orders with impeccable discipline. These researchers were among the best in their field then and now, but for Wu Tong, they obeyed with unwavering devotion. This was genuine admiration from the bottom of their hearts. Before arriving, they had mostly admired Wu Tong as a role model, believing she had brought honor to the country and was a true mathematician. However, after arriving here, signing the confidentiality agreement, and learning what Wu Tong had accomplished, especially now that the experiment had verified her predictions, her image had been elevated to a truly godlike level. The joking nickname, "My God," was truly fitting. 3 hours later, they had verified Wu Tong's design once again, producing several graphene films that had successfully deposited, attached, and fused the special product, silicon hexoxide. The second phase of the experiment was officially a success. The most challenging part had been conquered, and the final compound preparation was imminent. The lab erupted in cheers. Everyone's eyes sparkled, looking at Wu Tong expectantly. Give the order, give the order. They wanted to see a miracle. Go to the sealed lab, calibrate the new equipment, and conduct the final preparation experiments. Wu Tong also looked eagerly at the successful silica hexaoxide membranes. The fuel experiment was finally entering the countdown to seeing the product. Her deductions, however precise, existed only in her mind. Step by step, turning her deductions into reality was a time for Wu Tong to deepen her understanding of what she had learned and to reap the rewards. The sealed lab, prepared in advance, had a purity level of 200,000, a testament to Hu Yangxing's meticulous approach. Within this lab, a specialized device, developed and manufactured by them, stood silently like a crouching giant. It had a long mouth, the gas pipeline connected to the nitrogen pump. It was divided into two sections, tapering in the middle. The narrowest part was its heart, where the filter membrane was mounted, connected to the vacuum pump, and at the bottom, to the product's receiving tank. Although the equipment was rushed to completion, so rudimentary it lacked even a casing, it was simply assembled parts, with the connecting wires exposed. It didn't detract from the intense attention the lab workers gave it. To them, it was a beauty unmatched by any other beauty. Wu-Tong personally inserted a filter membrane into the heart of the device. Mr. Hui, please turn on the power. Tower ran, adjust the current and voltage. Wu-Tong instructed Mr. Hui, inviting him to take action, giving her a sense of involvement. The current, voltage, and vacuum pressure parameters were all parameters she had precisely deduced after using the device, reaching a precise, authentic level. Hu Yangxing solemnly pressed the start switch, and the machine whirred to life. Wu-Tong adjusted the current and voltage, simultaneously adjusting the vacuum pressure, until all parameters were in place. The gas pipeline began pumping nitrogen. The nitrogen passed through the filter membrane, and the directional current and voltage acted on the filter membrane, creating a magical effect. Simultaneously, the vacuum pump began to work, creating a huge pressure differential between the upper and lower parts. The weight of the storage tank, equipped with a measuring instrument, began to display. The eyes of the people watching the equipment in action lit up with excitement once again. It worked, a product. They didn't dare to speak, fearing to disturb the experimental equipment. Wu-Tong watched the equipment for a while, and only when she saw that everything was working normally did she finally feel relieved. When the meter reached 1 kilogram, she shut down the equipment. She switched the oxide film and the storage tank, restarted it, and reset the preparation parameters for another direction of preparation. Wu-Tong Mr. Wu, I'll do it. Wu-Tong was about to apply the N24 explosive label to the first tank, but Hu Yangxing and Tao Ran dissuaded him as if facing a great enemy. The high-energy stuff, predicted to be 20 times that of TNT, was deadly and dangerous, so they should do it. It's okay. All nitrogen compounds are relatively stable. Without ultraviolet light and the conditions for detonation, they won't explode. However, everyone should be careful and prudent when handling them. It's better to be safe than sorry. Safe laboratory practices are the most basic requirement. Wu-Tong waved her hand, leading the way, and affixing the label. She demonstrated her ability to set an example for the other researchers, giving them peace of mind. Furthermore, their product was stored in specialized storage tanks. Otherwise, if such a large dose of N24 exploded, the entire lab would be destroyed, with no one able to escape. Therefore, Wu-Tong led by example, ensuring that the danger lay not in their creations but in the people and methods used. This was another reason why all the researchers admired Wu-Tong. Besides her miraculous talent, she never flinched from conducting experiments. She never gave orders simply with words, but delegated all dangerous tasks to others. When faced with unfamiliar equipment, Wu-Tong never shied away from asking for advice. Her mastery, achieved after only one instruction, once again impressed the entire group. My God is truly a god. The second tank of product weighed another kilogram. Tao Ran proactively labeled this tank as N24 fuel. The process was restarted again, and the third tank was installed. Wu-Tong adjusted the parameters again. When the product in the tank reached another kilogram, Hu Yangxing stopped the equipment without Wu-Tong's signal. They had obtained their third product, N18. With 3 major products complete, the next step was the most exciting, yet also daunting, moment of testing its performance. However, before testing its performance, the extremely dangerous N24 had to be passivated. This prevented its performance from destabilizing, which would cause a violent explosion at the slightest exposure to light, making it extremely dangerous. On the other side of the laboratory, they had also constructed 2 small product passivation lines. The light-proof product storage tanks were attached to the base of the lines. The lines were activated, and the appropriate amount of passivation was added. Finally, after uniform mixing and compression, the final product, resembling milk chocolate cubes, emerged. The passivated, bidirectional N24 was then fed into a light-proof storage box on the other side. A miracle is about to happen. This was the most sincere thought in everyone's mind upon seeing the final preparation step completed. Furthermore, There was boundless research potential surrounding Wu Tong's equipment solution. For example, were there other possibilities for preparing silicon oxide? Do nitrides have other uses? Are there other gases worth studying? For example, oxygen, hydrogen. They felt that they might never be able to fully study them in their lifetime. But the god opened a brand new and epoch-making door for them. Chapter 178 New Year's Day. Boss Hu, we've lived up to your expectations. The N24 has been successfully prepared. Let's conduct a live test. Wu Tong glanced sideways at Hua Yangxing. Neither fuel testing nor the more dangerous explosives experiments could be conducted in a sealed laboratory. Let's go to the backfield. There's a dedicated ammunition testing area over there. I've already had people prepare it, waiting for the signal to begin the test. Hua Yangxing made a call, having the site staff re-inspect the area and ensure it was ready for testing. He also contacted the artillery team and dispatched specialized personnel to assist with the specialized explosives testing. With everything ready, Wu Tong, Hua Yangxing, and several key experimental personnel arrived at the fully prepared site. They entered a safe bunker and observed the actual test from the sidelines. Testing high-energy explosives required specialized personnel. With Wu Tong's command, the test began. First test begins. Soldiers in explosion-proof gear carried 100 grams of N24 into the sealed test chamber at a distance. After the soldiers retreated to the safety of the bunker, the N24, already set for detonation, was detonated in a specially constructed, sealed test chamber. Soon, the real-time data from the detector was displayed to Wu Tong and Hua Yangxing. Oh my god, 20.03 times the power of TNT, Fan Junfeng, who was in the bunker with Wu Tong and Hua Yangxing, responsible for on-site security and explosion testing, was the head of a special forces regiment specially assigned by Commander Wu to protect the 624th Institute during a nearby training exercise. Upon seeing the data on the monitor, he couldn't help but exclaim in amazement, his exclamation immediately recognizing his native Fujian. This is great stuff. Fan Junfeng's eyes lit up, his gaze blazing as he stared at the data. Explosives of this power were the stuff of dreams for these passionate men. He gave the two leaders a thumbs up. Boss Wu, Boss Hu, you're awesome. Commander Wu was overjoyed. His hopes had finally come true. Continue, increase the dose. The data was as expected, and Wu Tong was pleased, but not overly excited. She calmly continued issuing instructions. Comrades, please be careful. Even though they had made thorough preparations, that didn't mean there were no hidden dangers, so safety reminders were necessary. Okay, Mr. Wu, don't worry. I've already given those guys a good stern lesson. No one dares to be careless, Fan Junfeng assured them. From the moment they received the mission, they were ready to cooperate and had already begun intensive training, selecting the best from the best. This was their forte. If they couldn't handle this test, they could simply take off their uniforms and not tarnish its reputation. We will definitely complete the mission, rest assured. Both commanders, the equipment in the laboratory started up again, and data from detonations of different doses and under different conditions began to come in. Just as Wu Tong had predicted, the yields were between 19.92 and 20.87 TNT, which truly delighted both the testers and the experimenters. The first phase of the experiment was a success, and they compiled and submitted the results to the senior executives of several funding parties. Leader Wu of the artillery was the first to receive the news. After obtaining permission from Hua Yangxing and Wu Tong, Fan Junfeng reported the exciting news to his direct superior through confidential channels. Upon hearing the news, Leader Wu practically leaped from the table in excitement. He had hoped the experiment would be successful and usher in a revolution in artillery ammunition, but he had never expected Wu Tong's team to be so quick. Less than 20 days after the funding was allocated, they had already produced experimental results for the super explosive N24. Amazing, amazing. These Chinese girls are truly amazing. Such talent must be protected. Continue the mission. Don't let a single fly get through and disturb Chief Designer Wu. Leader Wu immediately issued strict instructions again. Wu Tong's brain was no ordinary brain, it was a treasure of their country. I'll take our men over right away. Equipment construction and testing continued. With the initial test results coming in, the Base Research Institute secretly welcomed several important military figures. Security levels in the preparation lab were heightened once again, and the entire project was being handled with top-secret confidentiality. Wu Tong spoke with conviction, stating that every project she researched was a true miracle, and confidentiality and protection were paramount. All confidential data was sealed, and parameters were fixed on control chips, loaded into upgraded equipment. Aside from a few key experimentalists, no one knew the specific preparation steps, detailed parameters, or key points. All transferred engineers and experimentalists had undergone countless rounds of screening and inspection, and were considered loyal and reliable personnel, many of whom came from the military. Anyone with even the slightest suspicion was barred from entering the base research facility, let alone joining the classified project. The production of N-24 had become a top priority. This high-energy explosive would revolutionize China's military industry, and unstoppable momentum was building. Expanding the preparation facilities and processing lines, with specialized engineers taking over, was a simple undertaking, and there was no need to waste Wu Tong's time. Wu Tong led her team on a second experiment, testing N-24 in a different direction. After testing, Wu Tong further refined the data, meticulously adjusting the preparation and passivation parameters. He ultimately arrived at the optimal fuel ratio, maximizing N-24's potent combustion properties. This ensured a thorough, even combustion, providing immense thrust to the spacecraft. The combustion products were non-toxic and harmless, storage requirements were relaxed, and the passivated fuel could be stored for decades. Its high specific energy. Hu Yangxing enumerated the remarkable properties of the new superfuel, N-24, and couldn't help but anticipate the thrill of its use on a real spacecraft. Wu Tong, let's prepare a batch of N-24 fuel using the optimal ratio. I'll talk to Commander Wu and get a real one for testing. The artillery and aviation groups had plenty of large equipment available for real-world testing. They couldn't afford to waste their vital equipment, and they requested that those nearing retirement be given a final chance to put their remaining energy to use, testing the specific impulse of the N-24 fuel. Okay. I'll also say something to Leader Wu and General Manager Lin. Wu Tong looked out the window. It was snowing heavily in Zizhou. The heavy snow fluttered down, and the white snow covered the yellow sand in the distance. Before she knew it, she had been here for almost a month. Under the constant temperature conditions of the laboratory, coupled with her subtle perception of temperature changes, the research and development tasks were overcome, and the passage of time was the most overlooked existence. It was the beginning of a new year. Happy New Year, President Hu. Wu Tong smiled widely and congratulated Hu Yangxing. With the joyful news, they welcomed the New Year's Day of 2011. Chapter 179 The Long Road. Happy New Year, Wu Tong, Hu Yangxing replied with a smile. If Wu Tong hadn't pointed it out, she wouldn't have realized it was New Year's Day, the dawn of a new year. Mr. Hu, everyone's been working non-stop with us for so long, why don't you all take a break this afternoon? Tomorrow we'll start working on the engine, Wu Tong suggested. While working non-stop on critical tasks was inevitable, they could afford to take a break after completing 2 tasks in a row. By New Year's Day, they had completed basic testing on the N-24. The N-18 inspection had been handed over to professionals for testing, and they were just waiting for the data to be compiled. The next step was to focus on the engine and simultaneously work with Liu Xiao on the airframe design. This would be used as a basis for material optimization. If Professor Liu's guidance radar could keep up, the PL-15 could be officially launched by Spring Festival or even early spring. I just happened to take this opportunity to call home. They must be worried about me. In the midst of recent urgent research, Wu Tong dropped by to let them know she was busy with a project and might not be able to contact them. She would contact them when she was done. Entering the lab, they entered a signal blocking area. They couldn't contact their family, and neither could they. It had been another week since their last contact, and if they didn't call, their families would be worried. Okay, time to talk to them. Wu Tong was still young and homesick, and Hu Yangxing felt she had to report this to her superiors. She also had to consider Wu Tong's family arrangements. They weren't at the point where they needed to squeeze their child and stay home for 3 days. Everyone's been working hard lately, so take a break. I'll have the logistics department allocate some funds to buy some goodies for the holidays. Our Zizhou beach sheep are quite good. I'll have the logistics canteen make some mutton soup and roast some lamb tonight so we can all celebrate together. Hu Yangxing realized what was happening and made the thoughtful arrangements. Thank you, Mr. Wu, Mr. Hu, and Happy New Year. The engineers and lab technicians present couldn't help but express their gratitude. For researchers like them, who work day and night. A dedicated half-day break is truly wonderful. Relaxing their taut nerves, they can resume their work tomorrow, continuing to bear witness to miracles. Working on projects with Wushan, their mouths often drop to shock, each one aghast at the reality show after another, seemingly unseen. Wu Tong returned to the apartment Yang Xing had arranged for her. An Wenshu lived with her, responsible for personal protection and logistics. Of course, there were other security measures deployed around Wu Tong's residence to ensure her safety. She called home. It was New Year's Day, and Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu had both come to the Jin's house to celebrate. With the children away, they could get together and chat. She missed her children. To the old couple, Jinyu and King, they were their own children. Although their parental ties were superficial, Wu Jingzhong respected and cherished his in-laws, who had supported them through years of hardship. The family had already bought a new car, a high-end MPV, one of the few in the entire county. Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu felt that driving in the family compound was too conspicuous and likely to draw criticism. So they sent the car to her mother's house and let Jinyuan drive it whenever he needed it. They rarely had much use for the car. Tong, are you back from work? Finally, you can rest today. As soon as the phone was connected, the voices of the family came in one after another. They felt that they could no longer keep up with Wu Tong's pace and that indiscriminate concern would only delay things. The family was only concerned about Wu Tong's health and happiness. Yes, I'm taking a break today. The research team has planned a celebration tonight, and we want to have something delicious. Have you arranged any good dishes for today? After chatting with her family for a while, Wu Tong called her brother again. They were far apart, and she had thought she would have more free time and could make time to visit her brother. But she didn't expect that. Since the start of the school year, she had been busy with one project after another, and she was too busy to fly to Hu province to see her brother. Finally, your brother called. I was almost reporting him missing. On the other end of the line, Jinzhen had been waiting for this call for a long time. As soon as the call was connected, he couldn't help but chuckle. It was a rare day off, so he got his phone back. He tried to contact Wu Tong, but couldn't get through. He called home and learned that Wu Tong had been assigned to a research group and had been busy lately, so he couldn't answer the phone. He'd been trying to contact them anyway. Something didn't seem right. Almost half a semester of military academy training hadn't been in vain. Jinzhen, who had been working so hard and was already assisting his advisor on a project, immediately suspected Tong had been assigned to some classified project. Honestly, the first thing he'd done on a project was signing a confidentiality agreement. In class, he'd been taught all sorts of confidentiality regulations. Jinzhen was no stranger to the subject of classified projects. It was only after entering university that he'd broadened his horizons and finally understood Tong's status in the mathematical world. Given Tong's skill level, it was perfectly normal for a project to reach out to him. While Jinzhen was proud of Wu Tong's excellence, he also felt a bit frustrated. Before he could even get a chance to pat himself on the back for getting into the school project team his freshman year, his own son, Tong, had dealt him a blow, presumably landing on a higher-ranking project team. Despite his lamentations, mindful of the confidentiality agreement, Jinzhen consciously suppressed his curiosity, avoiding asking for details and instead chatting with Wu Tong about everyday matters. How are you, young man? It seems like the school grind wasn't enough. You still don't seem tired enough, Wu Tong smiled back, a tit-for-tat exchange of words, fearing no one. If the young man hadn't been in a military academy, she would have been the one to report him missing. She hadn't been able to contact him for 10 days or even half a month, so of course, her schedule wasn't much better. I feel like there's so much I need to learn. The more I learn, the more I feel I'm lacking, Jinzhen scratched his head. He had always thought he knew quite a bit, but upon actually entering university and beginning his formal studies, he realized how foolish his previous assumptions had been. That's a great idea, it proves you've really learned. Keep up the good work, I look forward to working on a project with you someday, Wu Tong encouraged him with a smile. If he showed good progress, she wouldn't mind taking on another aviation project next year or the year after. The J-20 has been finalized, the F-35 has been spotted, so isn't it time to get on with the J-35 as well? China Airlines still has room for improvement. You can't eat hot tofu in a hurry, and you can't get fat in one bite. They still have a long way to go. Chapter 180 Efficiency. Let's keep going, little brother, Wu Tong encouraged with a smile. I'll look forward to fighting alongside you. No problem, Tong. Take care of yourself. Jinzing hung up the phone happily, his voice once again filled with excitement. He, too, looked forward to the opportunity to work with Tong. They had grown up together, so even when school got busy, they could see each other every few days. Tong would come to his house, or he would go see Tong. The county town was so small, it wasn't a big deal. But now, they were thousands of miles apart, making it difficult to see each other. He had to work harder, learn more, and catch up with Wu Tong. If they could work together in the future, they would see each other every day. Of course, Jinzing had no idea what kind of grueling training he would have to endure if that day ever came. Okay, little brother, let's get in touch when we have time. After sending well wishes to several teachers at school, Wu Tong smiled and put down his phone. After talking with his family, his longing for them eased, and his face lit up with joy. When one is in a good mood, one's thinking naturally becomes more active. At the desk in the room, Wu Tong sorted out his thoughts and, taking advantage of the free time he had, began to continue to deduce the Goldbach conjecture. The project had already been established, and he had even used it as an excuse not to go abroad. Of course, he had to seize the time and make some achievements. Mr. Liu once said that time is like water in a sponge, if you squeeze it, there's always more. In the evening, in the cafeteria of number 624, a large pot of mutton soup was boiled. It used the local beach sheep, which, due to the unique geographical environment, has a unique quality. The meat is tender, has no smell, and is delicious. Large chunks of mutton are directly put into the pot, without adding too much seasoning. The resulting mutton soup is already so fresh that it will make your eyebrows drop, a pure and natural delicacy. A whole lamb, sizzling with oil, was grilled, crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. It was fragrant yet not smelly, lean yet not tough, and fatty yet not greasy. This high-quality lamb, with just a simple sprinkle of salt, is irresistible. For those who enjoy spicy food, a touch of cumin and chili powder elevates the experience to its ultimate perfection. There were also fresh, diced fruits and other special dishes. Today was a truly blissful day, igniting the festive spirit. Despite the cold weather, a delicious meal filled the cafeteria with the satisfied laughter of the project team. Tomorrow, they had to embark on a new research phase, so no one drank alcohol. Even the most energetic of the core team members refrained from causing any disturbances. Their young chief designer was still a minor and needed to be protected. Wu Tong hadn't appeared in the larger group, not because she was aloof or unapproachable, but because she was protecting her and preventing her involvement in the confidential project from being exposed to the outside world. Although Wu Tong was the lead in initiating the project, this was all top-secret information. Huiyanxing was still the docking station for most of the team. Only the most core lab staff and engineers knew Wu Tong's identity. On daily visits, once Wu Tong donned her isolation suit, no one could discern her true appearance. They simply considered her Huiyanxing's assistant. Or perhaps a student studying under him. At best, many envied the fact that someone could rise to prominence by learning from Huiyanxing, thus securing a much higher starting point in the future. Of course, the 624th Institute maintained Huiyanxing's management style, prioritizing practical action and avoiding the time-consuming and energy-sapping intrigues. On January 2, 2011, the Scramjet project officially launched, with Wu Tong leading the charge to develop the Scramjet dual-pulse compression engine. Wu Tong had already completed the design drawings. While waiting for the arrival of instruments and equipment, she and several key engineers responsible for the engine section meticulously refined the engine's components. Now, Wu Tong was responsible for individually drawing each one to precise proportions. Several core engineers, divided into groups based on their expertise, were tasked with synthesizing materials or using existing materials to create a vision, piece by piece, by engineers and workers. Having worked on missiles for years, the 624th Institute boasts a comprehensive processing workshop. From Wu Tong, who meticulously cut out components and drew blueprints at the top, to the workers in the processing workshop below, everyone worked tirelessly, joining the front lines. Component after component was crafted, Wu Tong's drawings based on the design provided. After 3 days of processing, once all the necessary components for the first part were complete, 2 core engineers began assembling it according to Wu Tong's schematics. From scratch, from materials to components, From components to sub-assemblies, the massive engine was gradually assembled and perfected. The flattened design, when compared to the true-to-scale engine, was quite visually striking. Hu Yangxing watched the engine's progress daily, watching Wu Tong's progress with remarkable enthusiasm. Wu Tong barely stumbled, producing blueprints at a breakneck pace. Combined with the team's full support, the engine's construction was accelerating exponentially. A project that previously would have taken months or even years to complete was now like stepping on the accelerator. It looked as if the new scramjet engine would be ready within January at the latest. This was truly exhilarating. After knocking twice on the door, Hu Yangxing finally pushed open Wu Tong's office door and entered. Working on the airframe design, perhaps the team was short-staffed, and the machining shop couldn't keep up with Wu Tong's speed in drawing component drawings. Wu Tong had already completed all the component drawings. However, due to confidentiality concerns, she couldn't bring in any more outsiders for a while. Perhaps she hadn't been thorough enough. The standard setup wasn't meeting Wu Tong's efficiency, and his speed had always exceeded her expectations. Yes, I've been discussing this with Professor Liu. We're currently refining the missile body design, Wu Tong nodded. An air-to-air missile is a complex, integrated whole. While fuel and the engine are crucial, other components are equally essential. While leading the team's work on the engine, Wu Tong didn't neglect the overall process, maintaining prompt communication with external support. Professor Liu is very efficient. The guidance system is being refined, and the initial missile body design is ready. I'll derive the parameters and strive for continuous improvement, using both historical and anticipated data. She builds a rigorous and detailed mathematical model. Using her mathematical foundation, enhanced by her physics and engineering dynamics skills, and guided by a firm deductive direction, Wu Tong strives to achieve the ultimate in her endeavors. She praises him, saying she doesn't judge others by their own speed, but Lu Xiao's speed, compared to an average person, is truly swift. Even if you compare him to her, he's not far behind. This is the true gift of genius. I haven't been feeling well today, so the update is a little late. There will be 2 more chapters later. Thank you for your support. Keep up the good work. The autumn is getting chilly, so everyone should take care of yourselves. Chapter 181 Meticulous. Lu Xiao is always efficient. Everyone in technology expects efficiency, Hu Yangxing sighed heartfeltly. Anyone involved in research wouldn't want Project Great Wall to be completed in a single day, but that was clearly a luxury. Before Wu Tong's sudden appearance, the extraordinary research and development speed exemplified by Lu Xiao was already the pinnacle of Chinese R&D, a feat that daunted many. But now they had Wu Tong, and Wu Tong's speed had become a benchmark. Wu's state was Wu Tong's burst of inspiration. Wu Tong's speed was synonymous with swift research and development. Wu Tong, the actual test data for N24 fuel is in. The specific impulse peaked at 927, nearly 3 or 4 times that of the previous best solid or liquid fuel. The thrust performance is also exceptional, surpassing your predictions. She personally visited the site to observe the actual test runs and obtain these astonishing data firsthand. The experts from the aerospace industry were almost ecstatic. Before their arrival, they had been somewhat skeptical of the 800-point predictions from the previous discussion, believing that even a 40% reduction in actual test results would be a major step forward for China Airlines. Unexpectedly, Wu Tong's figures were merely modest. The actual figures were even higher than predicted. The figures Wu Tong had given were likely minimum estimates, not the maximum figures often used to highlight performance. The arrival of high-energy explosives and high-energy fuels delighted the artillery leaders who were watching, promising great news for their missiles. The experts from the aerospace industry were also brimming with excitement, eager to delve into solid-state engine development. However, there were still challenges to overcome before solid-state development could begin, but compared to this superfuel, those were no problem. The high specific impulse, long duration, and high temperatures are a bit much for the engine. The nozzle shows signs of softening over time, especially when the charge is fully loaded, ultimately leading to complete melting. Using half the fuel is more effective, Hu Yangxing lamented, stating this was inevitable. Previous solid fuels had a specific impulse of only 200 to 300, but now it has more than tripled. The same amount of fuel can last 3 times longer than before. It's inevitable that the materials used in older engines can't withstand the impact of this superfuel. It's not the superfuel's fault, they're still excited about its creation. Reducing fuel requirements and improving the engines are essential challenges. Tripling the burn time of the same unit weight of fuel means their missiles and spacecraft can reach farther and faster. Overcoming these minor obstacles is a crucial task. I wonder if our new engine materials can withstand the high temperatures of the superfuel, Hua Yangxing expressed concern. While the materials they're using are superior to those used in the engines of the older, soon-to-be-retired engines, they likely won't be able to withstand the burning of a full charge of superfuel. After all, Wu-Tong's new superfuel is a groundbreaking advancement, potentially exceeding the capabilities of current materials. Mr. Hui, I've thought about it. Let's see the test results first, then we'll make improvements. When designing the engine, Wu-Tong took into account the high inlet and outlet temperatures, which could even reach over 3,000 degrees Celsius. Therefore, she incorporated a cooling system to reduce the stress on the engine caused by excessive temperatures and increase energy efficiency. However, the unexpectedly derived fuel, N24, did produce data that exceeded her initial expectations after further refining the numerical ratios. Fortunately, she had made some allowances and could give it a try. Wu-Tong briefly discussed her ideas and improvement directions with Hua Yangxing. After optimizing the airframe, she planned to work on optimizing the new combustion chamber nozzle material and the two-way derivation of the coating. And the new airframe materials, all these needed to be tackled one by one, and it was impossible to tackle them all at once. She regretted not having multiple hands or the ability to do all the work. After all, solid-fuel rocket engines were simple to develop. Since the 1960s, solid-fuel rocket engine technology had advanced, and many missile launches now use solid-fuel engines. The catapult engine's compatibility with the new fuel is insufficient. A high-temperature resistant coating could compensate for this, and minor modifications could be made to existing missiles in service to quickly adapt to the new fuel and increase their endurance and combat effectiveness. Reforming various missile engines is a long-term process, and it's unrealistic to waste and immediately retire missiles already manufactured and in service. Developing a super high-temperature resistant coating would further mitigate national losses, and high-temperature coatings have numerous applications. The new material complements the new engine she designed, while the coating is intended for existing spacecraft and missiles currently considering switching to N24 fuel. It would also be welcome news if someone could develop and manufacture it before her. Her energy alone is limited, and she can't focus on all areas of scientific research. If China's scientific research community can flourish, Chinese technology will leap forward. Hua Yangxing nodded seriously. Wu-Tong's considerations were thorough, and his grasp of the project's chief designer's responsibilities was becoming increasingly sophisticated, requiring little input from her. His R&D was even more advanced. As expected, outstanding talent excelled in all areas, advancing at an exceptionally rapid pace. However, regarding new material development, Hua Yangxing felt that Wu-Tong's expertise was still crucial, as other teams weren't as efficient. After discussing a particular issue, Wu-Tong consulted Hua Yangxing on various aspects of missile design. As a veteran missile engineer with 2 or 3 decades of experience in the field, she had much to draw on. The deeper her understanding, the more she could ensure the PL-15 was, and must be, foolproof. Taking on such a major national research project for the first time, Wu-Tong was not apprehensive, but rather diligent in his work. He considered the missile body design, structural analysis, aerodynamics, ballistics, the operational requirements of each missile system, the missile's tactical specifications, and the longitudinal configuration of the wing surfaces. He meticulously considered every detail, meticulously detailing it. Even the slightest oversight could lead to failure, sabotaging the entire project and wasting national resources. The cost of scientific research is always realistic and brutal. The price of failure is too high. Chapter 182 High Goals. Time is the least important factor in a struggle. They simply wish it would slow down, allowing them to accomplish more. The few core engineers who had access to Wu-Tong were under immense pressure. Their speed, working from the drawings, couldn't keep up with Wu's more challenging task of analyzing and drawing component drawings. What a mess. Their abilities weren't up to par, and they still had much room for improvement. They felt ashamed of their previous complacency. They felt that titles like Changjiang Scholar, Outstanding Young Scientist, and Academic Leader were undeserved. However, Wu-Tong didn't complain. She focused on managing a limited number of tasks with limited manpower, and this was her responsibility as the project leader. After figuring out the efficiency of the machining shop, Wu Tong assigned a set number of drawings daily. She didn't push the limits blindly, but instead made a good plan to keep the work within the capacity of everyone involved. Engineers and workers shouldn't be forced to work hard to meet deadlines. This was a matter of fundamental principle. Reports of programmers and staff members losing their lives at a young age due to long, night-long overtime shifts are commonplace. Wu Tong did not want, and would never allow, such a tragic accident to occur within her project team. Furthermore, blindly pursuing speed without paying attention to precision would make quality impossible to ensure. Typically, the precision of each component in an air-to-air missile must be sub-millimeter. This time, Wu Tong was taking on the unprecedented challenge of developing a new air-to-air missile, and she desired even micron-level accuracy. Even if she could only produce one component per day, precision must be improved for components with special angles. After a week of detailed discussions with President Tua and remote collaboration with Lu Xiao, Wu Tong finally finalized the missile body design. Based on this design, she began to deduce the material for the body. Staring at the small, detailed missile design on the screen, Wu Tong worked tirelessly on the data, his mind expanding. Because of the high overload required, steel is currently the most commonly used material for air-to-air missile bodies. The missile body is the missile's armor. High-quality material can improve the missile's payload capacity, enhance its structural strength, and provide better protection and connectivity for its components. The new PL-15 design, designed by her, places high demands on its material. It must withstand a higher overload per unit area than typical missiles, sometimes several times greater. For an advanced fighter, the internal space available for onboard weapons and ammunition is limited, while ensuring space for necessary fuel, onboard equipment, and other equipment. Within this limited ammunition carrying capacity, the aircraft's weapon system's power must be increased. The power of a fighter jet is closely tied to the missiles it carries, as only missiles are truly effective strike weapons. Of course, a fighter jet's maximum missile loadout is not necessarily optimal. According to current air-to-air missile specifications, medium or heavy fighters can typically carry 8 missiles, while light fighters typically carry 2 to 4. However, fighter jets are rarely fully loaded in actual combat, as carrying too many missiles would not only compromise their aerodynamic shape but also increase their weight, reducing their performance and potentially leading to combat failure. Therefore, in many cases, fighter jets are not fully loaded with missiles. Therefore, smaller, lighter, more agile, longer range, and air-to-air missiles capable of high-density payloads have become a primary focus of future research. For example, if a fighter jet, originally capable of carrying only 6 conventional missiles, could have its missiles halved in size and weight while maintaining the same power, the ammunition capacity could be doubled to 12 while maintaining the same magazine capacity. This would naturally double, or even multiply, its combat capability. The J-20, with its powerful engine and ultra-lightweight fuselage, has seen a significant increase in its missile loadout, from the initial 6-8 missiles to the current 10 to 12, though this remains limited. However, within this limited capacity, Wu Tong aims to equip the J-20 with greater flexibility to address the increasingly complex and treacherous future aerial battlefield environment, driven by the increasing variety and performance of aerial targets. Driven by the increasing demands of carrier platforms for the number of weapons mounted and the diversity of their strike modes, Wu Tong is exploring a series of new technological innovations within her capabilities to improve air-to-air missile performance. Try to achieve targeted miniaturization of the PL-15 within a limited scope. Of course, air-to-air missiles can't be shrunk arbitrarily. To achieve this, they must ensure greater combat capability, higher speed, and greater range. The technological complexity required is immense. However, it's not an impossible task. First, the most successful outcome is that, through a moment of mutual understanding, they have developed a higher energy super explosive. This super explosive, with 20 times the energy of TNT, can be used in missile ammunition. While achieving the same power as conventional missiles, the amount used will undoubtedly be significantly reduced, providing the basis for a corresponding reduction in the ammunition compartment. Second, among solid fuels, N-24 is unmatched in missile fuel performance. Its specific impulse is over 3 times that of conventional dyes, meaning that the fuel required to achieve the same burn time requires only 1/3 the previous amount. This provides the basis for a corresponding reduction in the fuel compartment while ensuring greater thrust and range. Third, the rapid advancement of electronic technology has allowed for further reductions in guidance systems. Wu Tong has already discussed this with Lu Xiao. She aims to improve the positioning and tracking system's lock-on capability while miniaturizing the system. Once a fighter locks onto a target and launches an air-to-air missile, there are only two outcomes: either it hits the target or it self-destructs. Therefore, Wu Tong's development requirements for Lu Xiao's guidance system were that it not only accurately locate and lock onto the target during pursuit, but also accurately calculate the shortest pursuit distance. With powerful tracking and steering capabilities, it would leverage its already impressive speed and immense inertia to pursue long-range strikes, achieving a higher and more accurate strike capability. Fourthly, of course, was her engine research. From the outset, she considered miniaturization. While pursuing extreme performance, Wu Tong also controlled the engine's size. Fifthly, Wu Tong and Lu Xiao collaborated to perfect the sleek design of the missile and its steering rudder, enabling the PL-15 to achieve a higher sprint speed. In short, they had made a good start, laying a solid foundation. Further refinement on this foundation was Wu Tong's high goal for herself. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183 Variants. Based on existing material data and the upper limit of her deduced maximum overload value, Wu Tong works step by step, selecting a direction and filtering out incorrect options. Eventually, she arrived at a specialized steel. Predictions indicated a maximum overload capacity approximately 3 times that of current aviation steels, with excellent tensile and thermal resistance. Even at extreme speeds and high temperatures, it would maintain strong mechanical properties, meeting Wu Tong's requirements for a new missile material. Based on this, Wu Tong also derived a variant with enhanced toughness, tensile strength, and corrosion resistance. The projected cost would not exceed that of standard steel, yet possessed the ability to withstand earthquakes of at least magnitude 7 or 8. Many areas of China are prone to earthquakes, particularly Sichuan, Qinghai, and Ningxia. Wu Tong designated this direction as a special design, intending to further develop the derivation and submit it to higher-level authorities for promotion. With the material model designed and the preparation process roughly deduced, Wu Tong needed to establish a laboratory and begin experimenting with the new material. Since the 624th Institute wasn't specialized in materials science, Wu Tong simply sought help from a teacher and conducted experimental preparation at the Kyoto University Research Institute. No problem, your senior brother is also in Beijing. I'll ask him to assist me. I'll report back to you with the experimental data and step-by-step feedback. Once the experiment is complete, Cheng Lao readily agreed. The Kyoto University Materials Laboratory he oversees is undoubtedly one of the top materials laboratories in China, with few rivals. He was confident of this. Wu Tong guaranteed the completion of the task entrusted to him. After reporting safely, Wu Tong sent the derived data and preparation plan to her teacher, awaiting Cheng Lao's summary of the experimental data. Based on this, she would derive more refined experimental parameters to refine the preparation process. This cycle repeated 3 times, taking a week, until she produced the special steel material, Mach-4, that met her expectations. Wu Tong was away from the preparation site and couldn't immediately oversee the changes, forcing her to resort to this more cumbersome method. This method was the materials preparation process Cheng Lao was familiar with. Achieving a perfect result in one go, as Wu Tong had, was a rare feat. With the process perfected, production began immediately. The 624th Institute has a dedicated military-related factory responsible for processing, production, and missile body fabrication. Engineer Su, the absolutely trustworthy person in charge, also has a technical background. At Hua Yangxing's recommendation, Engineer Su came to the 624th Institute and met Wu Tong. Engineer Su, thank you for coming all the way here. Wu Tong shook hands cordially with Engineer Su, who had come to hand over the documents. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for trusting us, Factory 113, with such an important task. Engineer Su's eyes were filled with excitement at the sight of the new, specialized steel with superior performance. This technological innovation was something he had longed for. After a brief exchange of pleasantries, the two immediately got down to business. New missiles have relatively high material overload requirements. In collaboration with the Peking University Laboratory, I've developed a special steel, Mach-4, specifically for these missiles. It's expected to triple or quadruple the current material's overload rating, meeting the new missile's material requirements. Wu Tong and engineer Su carefully reviewed the preparation process, understanding the current state of the factory's processing lines, and discussing improvement plans with engineer Su. The high-temperature reactor requires a higher temperature, and the steel must be finalized in one go. Over 2 days, Wu Tong and engineer Su worked together to finalize the technical upgrades to the current production line, clarifying every step in the Mach-4 manufacturing process. Mr. Wu, you're the one. Engineer Su, feeling incredibly accomplished, gave Wu Tong a thumbs up before departing. A genius's mind truly stands out from the ordinary. Even without a direct on-site visit, he could deduce such a sophisticated manufacturing process. Old Su was completely convinced. Engineer Su patted his chest and made a solemn promise, I'll go back and arrange the production line upgrade right away. Mr. Wu, wait for my good news. I won't hold our project team back, I'll leave everything to you. Engineer Su, Wu Tong bowed gently in gratitude. While airframe processing was underway, scramjet engine manufacturing and assembly were also nearing completion. Thanks to the tireless efforts of several key engineers and skilled workers, all components were finally completed and final assembly was complete by the end of January. Wu Tong and Hua Yangxing meticulously performed final checks and announced the start of the crucial engine field test. At 8 a.m. on January 31st, the scramjet engine test began, with N-24 fuel already loaded. The counterweights were in place, and everything was ready. Wu Tunhua, along with Yamxing and a group of core engineers, gave the command to start. The engine roared, and a pale red flame burst from the nozzle, seemingly letting the onlookers feel its awe-inspiring heat. Success. The thought of success flashed through everyone's minds, excitement washed over their faces, and cheers practically resounded throughout the laboratory. Attention, all departments, pay attention to the recorded data. The successful launch was only a preliminary success. Specific data feedback was still needed. Amidst his joy, Wu Tong kept issuing commands while keeping an eye on the nozzle to see how well the new fuel matched the scramjet engine. The fuel for an air-to-air missile typically burns out in about half a minute. After it cooled slightly, Wu Tong immediately stepped forward to check the nozzle. Fortunately, the cooling system is adaptable and there's no sign of nozzle melting. The existing materials have barely held up. Hua Yangxing stepped forward with Wu Tong and exclaimed with relief when she saw the nozzle, which showed only slight burn marks. This was another major hurdle overcome. The foundation of the new missile was now in place, and she seemed to foresee the PL-15's imminent birth. Powered by various superior scientific research achievements, the PL-15's performance was tangibly superior. However, this also meant that the PL-14, which she had spearheaded, was facing retirement before it even entered production. But aside from feeling guilty about wasting national resources, Hua Yangxing had no complaints. She believed the country needed a better strike force, and that it shouldn't compromise her outdated design. Of course, her PL-14 wouldn't be dismissed outright. By incorporating new technologies and optimizing it, it could still be used on existing fighter jets, and the research funds wouldn't be completely wasted. Wu Tong pondered for a moment. We still need to develop a high-temperature resistant coating. With some additional support from existing materials, it can be used in other areas. Just holding on to this data wasn't enough to satisfy Wu Tong. It was too much of a stretch. Sure enough, the initial design still had some omissions. Mr. Wu, the engine combustion chamber outlet temperature is 3,500 degrees Celsius, the inlet temperature is 1980 degrees Celsius, and the engine energy efficiency. The data was reported to Wu Tong one by one, and as he substituted the data into his mind, Wu Tong kept thinking. The cooling system also needs to be further improved. The high-temperature resistant coating and the cooling system work together to solve the key problem of excessive engine temperatures. Chapter 184 Breakthrough. Of course, the most radical innovation should be in engine materials. However, the time frame from R&D and design to production on an improved production line is prohibitively long. The first option, however, offers the fastest solution and widest potential, making it a suitable intermediate step. Crucially, Wu Tong already has some basic ideas for the first option. Now that the data is in her hands, she can simply expand upon them. I declare the scramjet engine's maiden test run a success. While not a perfect match, the first test run was a success. The engine's performance data showed excellent results across the board. In a vertical comparison chart, many surpassed those of the previous PL series engines, a cause for celebration. Upon seeing this data comparison, Hua Yangxing shared the excitement of all the test personnel involved. Wu Tong had achieved this, reducing the engine's proportions without sacrificing performance, and achieving superior performance. While overseas efforts were stalled and failing through trial and error, while domestic air-to-air missile miniaturization technology, was still a concept, Wu Tong brought it from concept to reality, achieving a significant leap forward for China Airlines. Thank you all for your continued meticulous inspection and flaw detection of all engine components. This ensures that every component and element is intact and free of defects. No problem, Mr. Wu, leave it to us, several core engineers assured. Their assistance this time was arguably the easiest and fastest ever. They barely had to tackle any R&D challenges, they simply oversaw the project's completion and witnessed its success. Chinese New Year is just 2 days away, so I wish you all a Happy New Year in advance. For those of you who requested to go home for the Lunar New Year, please be careful when you return home. We'll continue our hard work next year, Wu Tong offered a smiling blessing. With the Lunar New Year approaching, the project was progressing smoothly. However, she had underestimated the difficulty of completing a missile development mission. By the time the Lunar New Year arrived, she had barely managed to get the engine and fuel working, leaving the PL-15 still a long way from full completion. Her earliest expectation, hoping to complete the project before the Lunar New Year, was unrealistic. Mr. Wu, Happy New Year, the remaining core experimenters responded cheerfully. The peripheral experimenters, who were due for vacation, had already gone home, leaving them alone on the front lines, honored to witness such a crucial achievement. Several key engineers, along with their subordinates, joyfully continued meticulously recording data. Inside the office, Hua Yangxing apologized. I'm so sorry, Wu Tong, we can't let you go home for the Lunar New Year this year. The project's progress was impressive, but at a time when countless families were celebrating the New Year, Wu Tong couldn't go home for the holiday this year because of her invitation. She knew how much Wu Tong missed her family. Her limited downtime was almost entirely spent contacting them. Before this year, she'd never left her family, but this year, she couldn't celebrate the holidays with them. Mr. Hu, it's okay. This is what I really want. Wu Tong waved her hand, urging Hua Yangxing to let go of the blame. She couldn't blame Mr. Hu, it was her own decision. She hadn't been forced to take on this project. It was something she wanted to do, and naturally, she would bear the consequences. She held her position accountable. As the person in charge of such a top-secret project, she was entrusted with so much crucial information. She insisted on returning, and no one stopped her. However, with her current security clearance, returning home would be too cumbersome and troublesome. She would also have to set up security at home, which would be too disturbing. Ultimately, she decided not to return home for the rest of the year. She couldn't bring the possibility of danger to her family. You can stay with me for a while, and we'll finish the project in one go. I'll take a break, and then go home and spend some time there, Wu Tong promised herself progress. But that was different. She was already in her 50s, and her husband worked nearby. Wu Tong was still a child, already shouldering such a burden. Before leaving the office, Hua Yangxing saw Wu Tong, as he closed the door, already immersed in a new simulation. An idea flashed through her mind. Go report it, it's feasible. With the joy of a temporary success, and the longing for her family fueling her progress, Wu Tong resumed her simulation. She was first inspired to upgrade the cooling system. There was already ample information available on this topic. Large rocket engines typically have cooling systems. The 624th Institute holds significant authority. After the PL-15 project was officially launched and the bidirectional high-energy material N-24 was developed, Wu Tong's clearance was further increased, granting him access to even more top-secret state information. Rocket and missile engines are essentially the same. They carry their own fuel and oxidizer, independent of oxygen in the air for combustion, and can travel both in the atmosphere and in outer space. While some missiles may not be as large as rockets, the fundamental principles remain the same. Both missile and rocket engines face extremely high internal temperatures, especially in today's new scramjet air-to-air missile engines, which can reach temperatures as high as 3,500 degrees Celsius, similar to rocket engines. The reaction between fuel and oxidizer within the combustion chamber generates significant heat, high temperatures, and high-pressure gases. Therefore, various thermal protection measures are essential within the thrust chamber within the engine. Rapidly cooling the engine's internal temperature is a key challenge currently being addressed by researchers. Wu Tong had extensive access to data on various cooling systems. At this moment, driven by his need, he dug out all the information from his deep memories, bubbling up and becoming the basis for his deductions. Drawing on his deep foundation in mathematics and physics, Wu Tong first derived and calculated the key data, solving numerous equations and constructing functional models. Drawing on historical data and the experience of his predecessors, Wu Tong gained a spark of inspiration. Using the numerical values of the two-dimensional and three-dimensional cooling system models, he constructed new models, identifying the necessary areas for further optimization. The office lights remained bright, and the morning light, breaking through the windows, shone upon Wu Tong. The morning sun purple key technique spontaneously activated, infusing Wu Tong, who hadn't been awake all night, with the energy he had lost. His energy and spirit were recharged. And a flash of inspiration struck him. He completely broke through the veil of obstruction and arrived at the optimal design. Substituting this data into the newly designed cooling system, Wu Tong was delighted by the resulting calculations. This was a significant improvement, increasing the cooling system's efficiency by 50%. This improvement alone was sufficient for the scramjet engine to cope with the current high-temperature environment. However, striving for perfection was Wu Tong's constant principle. With her thoughts now flowing freely, she switched her new sheet of scratch paper and, continuing her smooth process, continued to develop the high-temperature resistant coating. Chapter 185 Coating. She needed a coating with a high melting point, long-lasting heat resistance, and the ability to withstand the erosion of nozzle temperatures reaching 3,500 degrees Celsius. It also needed a low thermal expansion coefficient, low high-temperature volatilization, and excellent ductility, fatigue resistance, and oxidation resistance. It also needed high thermal conductivity, good heat transfer, good ductility, and high thermal vibration resistance. The coating couldn't be too thick, nor too thin. Too thick would affect combustion chamber parameters, while too thin would be ineffective. Based on her needs, brief and detailed information on various existing high-temperature coatings surfaced in her mind. She pulled them out again and stored them in her memory. Comparing them with the existing library of materials discovered in nature, Wu Tong continuously filtered out interference and retained useful ideas. Ideas continued to flash through her mind, an absolute direction guiding her forward, and deductions opened up endless possibilities. From her pen, a series of derivational formulas unfolded, and finally, a specific compound molecular formula crystallized at the tip of Wu Tong's pen. Inorganic material, that was it, and the preparation process also burst forth simultaneously. After the orientation, all the manuscripts were in her mind, and Wu Tong headed straight for the lab. In the compound laboratory, Tao Ran and the others who had worked with Wu Tong to prepare N24 also chose not to go home this year. Wu Xin hadn't gone home yet, so what right did they have to run away? With such a great learning opportunity and such advanced research, they could turn to Wu Xin for advice, and he would almost always provide immediate solutions, providing the perfect finishing touch. Their gains and progress, their growth, could be described as rapid. So, they all encouraged each other, determined to keep working hard as long as they could. Their future achievements, he thought, would depend on their current level of dedication. Mr. Wu, the group, who were conducting in-depth research on polygonal silica, immediately noticed Wu Tong's arrival and called out in surprise. Taran? Zhang Qi. You haven't gone home either. Wu Tong, coming back from perfecting the preparation process, was a little surprised. She remembered that they were among those who could go home. Hey, Mr. Wu, Happy New Year. You haven't been home yet, have you? It just so happened that we consulted you a while ago, and the guidance we received has given us some new ideas about polygonal silica, which we'd like to discuss further. The group chuckled. Tao Ran patted Wu Tong's head, greeted him, and explained. Are you here to pick up the N18 lab report? N18 is incredible, a major achievement on par with the bidirectional high-energy material N24. Its solution possesses exceptionally strong decomposition capabilities, capable of promoting the decomposition of a wide range of organic matter, even chemical fibers, plastics, these white wastes that seriously pollute the environment. By adjusting the ultraviolet wavelength, it can produce carbon monoxide, methane, ethane, and other alkanes that are beneficial to humans. Our domestic waste pollution is in danger. Tao Ran quickly handed the lab report they had prepared to Wu Tong, looking at him excitedly with admiration. Mr. Wu is truly amazing, having developed something so remarkable. You know, China, with its 1.3 billion people, accounts for 1/5 of the world's total population. Every day, it produces approximately 1.5 million tons of garbage. If excrement is added, the figure becomes even more terrifying. Now, with N18, 1 gram can break down approximately 8 kilograms of various types of garbage, converting them into fuel gas reserves. This is like having an inexhaustible natural gas source, the value of which is incredibly high. China is short on crude oil and natural gas resources. Many areas rely on imports, striving to minimize the use of national reserves. A powerful supplement like this would undoubtedly become a national strategic resource, saving the country countless foreign exchange and providing a boost to the economy, with immeasurable value. Excellent lab report. Thank you for your hard work. I'll contact you to submit the data after you organize it. Wu Tong quickly glanced at the report in her hands and praised it. It met her expectations. However, this was the known result of her deduction and prediction, and was not her focus today. It just so happens you're all here today. Have you all eaten? If you'll bother, help me with another experiment. Okay, no problem, Wu Shen, just give me your orders. We've all eaten. Today is Chinese New Year, and the cafeteria has prepared a bountiful feast. They say the New Year's Eve dinner tonight will be even better. Wu Shen, let's celebrate the New Year together then, Tao Ran excitedly invited the brothers. Then we need to hurry up and finish the experiment as soon as possible so we can have dinner. Wu Tong had just made do with some of the instant food stored in the office before arriving, but now he was eagerly anticipating the dinner in the cafeteria that evening. Tao Ran, prepare yttrium trioxide, dysprosium trioxide, SRO3, SiC, ZrB2, these pure inorganic materials. Zhangqi, preheat the high temperature. With help, Wu Tong didn't have to prepare anything on his own, and the process went much faster. As the sun set and darkness slowly enveloped the earth, everyone in the laboratory stared at the ever-increasing temperature readings in the test chamber. 1,000 degrees, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Excited cheers rose in unison. Oh my God, we did it. We did it again. Wu Tong gazed at the coating solution she had prepared and the metal sheet she had used in the experiment, which only changed at temperatures exceeding 4,000 degrees. A look of joy washed over her. Inspiration struck. She used high-temperature treated yttrium trioxide, dysprosium trioxide, SRO3, SiC, and ZrB2, all with melting points above 3,000 degrees Celsius. Pure inorganic materials, resistant to oxidation and non-volatile at high temperatures, exploited the co-bonding effect to exploit the advantages of fusion. Under high temperature, the resulting lattice transformation resulted in a dense coating material with low oxygen permeability, better inhibition of oxygen diffusion, and excellent ductility. During the high-temperature, high-pressure solid-phase sintering process, a large amount of complex carbon molecules undergo solid solution, and reverse solid solution occurs during the carbon crystal phase transformation process, forming a melt-growth composite effect. This creates a continuous three-dimensional network crystal structure, resulting in a coating with excellent plasticity and adhesion, good film-forming properties, and high-temperature resistance. Wu Tong also added a certain amount of high-temperature treated rare earth oxides to the coating, which, through a synergistic effect, exhibits self-healing and resynthesis capabilities at high temperatures. After full curing, the coating exhibits a high melting point, high hardness, high chemical stability, corrosion resistance, and impact resistance. Furthermore, at high temperatures, the combined and synergistic effects of the various materials are prominent, resulting in excellent mechanical properties, even at 4,000 degrees Celsius. High temperature resistance, zero volatility, good ductility, high film-forming properties, and the ability to heal and resynthesize, allowing for long-term operation in high-temperature environments below 4,000 degrees Celsius without aging and excellent adhesion. This coating material perfectly met her expectations. Wu Tong's eyes were filled with joy. Success followed success. In 2 days, she had completed all the tasks she had planned to work on before and after the new year. The research was so smooth and seamless, it was the most joyful and blissful thing. As expected, people really need enough motivation. When motivation is sufficient, anything is possible. Chapter 186 Surprise. Tao Ran and his companions beamed with excitement, giving Wu Tong a thumbs up of admiration. They knew that Wu Shen's work was truly remarkable. Just a few hours of experimentation had already yielded a groundbreaking supercoating material. Applied to the metal fuel nozzles, tips, nose caps, blades, missile casings, and ultra-high temperature surfaces of aircraft, rockets, and various high-speed vehicles, as well as to the engines and ultra-high temperature equipment of aircraft and rockets, it could effectively overcome the erosion and burning effects of most currently harsh temperatures on these components, furthering the potential of aerospace technology. They imagined themselves, as support personnel, being included in the list of contributors to such groundbreaking material preparation. After only 2 or 3 months with Wu Shen, they had already achieved 3 remarkable feats in quick succession. Their resumes were gleaming brightly, and they couldn't be happier. Over time, they loved it, and they loved working overtime with Wu Shen. Thank you all for your concerted efforts, which have made this rapid success possible. Everyone who contributed, let's clean up the lab and head to the cafeteria for New Year's Eve dinner. We'll still be in time for the Spring Festival Gala. Wu Tong checked the time. It was just after 7 o'clock, so they had plenty of time. Tomorrow, the first day of the Lunar New Year, she could, as is tradition, take a break from the busy year and rest up. Wu Tong quickly compiled the entire experimental process and data. Multitasking, Wu Tong simultaneously sorted out her post-New Year work plan. The day after tomorrow, she would repeat the preparation experiments. After multiple verifications, she would prepare a portion of the supercoating for the engine and restart the engine for a second test run. Wu Tong, I heard your excitement before I even walked in. Any new progress? Hua Yangxing arrived before she even arrived. She had gone to Wu Tong's office but didn't see him. After asking security, she learned that Wu Tong had come to the chemical lab, so she turned back to look for him. The research is going well. We've successfully prepared the high-temperature resistant coating, Wu Tong replied with a smile. The engine could finally be completed, and achieving it in the final moments of the year was a good feeling. Hua Yangxing couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Wu Tong was truly amazing. He said he was working on a high-temperature resistant coating, and he had it ready in no time. Wu Tong's speed was truly remarkable. Let's go, let's meet again after the new year. Now, let's go have the New Year's Eve dinner, Hua Yangxing called out. Everyone had basically packed up, and the confidential information was locked in the safe. As they left the lab, the barriers were unlocked one by one. As they headed towards the living area, Hua Yangxing sent the others to the cafeteria first, saying she had something to say to Wu Tong. She led Wu Tong to the entrance of the research institute. Working in a confidentiality team, one must never ask questions that shouldn't be asked. Tao Ran and the others smoothly made their way in. Wu Tong, still a little confused, was about to ask Hua Yangxing if she could help her when a car approached and pulled up in front of the institute. A familiar-looking couple got out of the back, and Wu Tong froze in disbelief. Tong, as Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu approached. They spotted Wu Tong near the entrance and strode over. Dad, Mom, Wu Tong ran over, throwing herself into their open arms and hugging them tightly, still a bit stunned by the surprise. Why are you here? How did you know about this place? Coming back to her senses, she glanced sideways at Hua Yangxing, who smiled at her. Was this arranged by President Hu? These two comrades brought us here. Wu Jingzhong, calming down a little from the excitement of finally seeing his daughter, introduced the two comrades who had gotten out of the front seat of the car. We received a call from Elder Cheng, asking if we wanted to spend the new year with you, and of course we did. Then Elder Cheng told us to wait. This morning, a car picked us up and took us to Chengdu, then drove us all the way to the airport for our flight. These two comrades met us at the airport and brought us here. Jin Yu briefly described the entire process. They had received Elder Cheng's call the previous evening. After some preparation, the family decided to only allow the couple to come, fearing trouble for Wu Tong, and not to send the entire family. The fact that they had gone through all the trouble to bring them here, rather than simply letting Tong return home, suggested they had some idea that the so-called Project Tong was working on might be difficult. Before arriving at the airport, they didn't know where their destination was. They just missed their child and were looking forward to seeing Tong. Plus, it was arranged by Cheng Lao, so it was credible and feasible, so they came here all the way. The closer they got to here, the more desolate the scene became. They had more clear evidence for their previous guesses. Before leaving, Zixon should have had some guesses and told them some confidentiality rules. They were already very happy to see Tong. They simply didn't ask what Tong was doing. This might not be within the scope of their questions. As long as Tong is doing well and making contributions to the country, it would be glorious. Comrade Fan, thank you for your hard work. Wu Tong recognized him at a glance. One of them was Fan Junfeng, the head of the Artillery Special Forces Regiment, whom she had met during the test of the explosive N-24. She bowed slightly to thank him for delaying their time to reunite with their families. The other one should be the guard of this Fan regiment. It's not hard. It's not hard. Mr. Wu, you've got to work harder. It's cold and windy outside. Section Chief Wu and Teacher Jin might not be used to it. Mr. Wu, be careful not to catch a cold. Go inside and warm up, Fan Junfeng suggested with a smile. They were here to protect Wu Tong and serve her. He'd personally witnessed the power of the high-energy explosives and high-energy superfuel Mr. Wu had developed. They were just helping to bring Wu Tong's parents to the base. Even if it was a difficult task, as long as it didn't violate national laws and social order, they would have done it for Wu Tong. For a top researcher like Wu Tong, time and brain power are precious. Yes, I've registered. Wu Tong, bring your parents, let's go have New Year's Eve dinner, Hua Yangsing said with a smile. Seeing Wu Tong happy like a child her own age, snuggling up to her parents with endless satisfaction, her surprise arrangement was worth it. It was well worth it. Wu Tong couldn't leave her post, and they had to find a way to reunite with her family. Thank you, Mr. Hua. Wu Tong took his parents' hands and thanked them again. We will send your uncle and aunt's luggage back to your dormitory. Kei and Wang Ji walked out from the hidden entrance and took the suitcases brought by Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu from the trunk of the car. Zio Kei, Zio Wang, isn't this the tour guide team from before? Thinking of this, he reacted and it was probably an excuse. Comrade Wu, Comrade Jin, the situation was special at the time, so I acted as a tour guide temporarily. Kei nodded and explained to Wu Jingzhong and his wife. They didn't feel embarrassed. As Wu Tong is currently in contact with top secret information and security is always present, it is certain that he will meet Wu Tong's family again. As long as the Wu couple are not embarrassed, it's fine. Chapter 187 Happiness. I understand, we can all understand. Looking back now, the treatment they received then was even better than they had imagined. Wu Jingzhong, after all, was a party member and now worked at the grassroots level. Coupled with their reunion in this situation, he roughly understood the identities of these two people. I'm sorry for bothering you back then, they really treated him as a tour guide at the time. Dad, Mom, I'll tell you in detail later. Wu Tong smiled and took his parents' arm as they walked into the institute's gate, introducing them to Hua Yangsing. This is the person in charge here, President Hua of Hua Yangsing. You can come here because President Hua applied and contacted the teacher to arrange it. Because they couldn't go into too much detail, President Hua asked the teacher to act as a guarantor, so that his parents could feel more at ease and trust. President Hua, thank you for your trouble. Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu shook hands with Hua Yangsing in gratitude, thanking her for arranging for them to come here to see their daughter. It was so that they could spend a reunion year with their child. You're welcome. It wasn't much effort. I just made an application. Wu Tong couldn't go home for the Lunar New Year due to special circumstances this year. Thank you for coming here to reunite with him. Hua Yangsing waved her hands repeatedly, not taking credit for it. Wu Tong was still leading the team on scientific research and achieving major results during the Lunar New Year holiday. It was no big deal for her to put in a little effort. With Wu Tong's contributions, the country remembered them and never overlooked them. No matter how extraordinary the arrangements, they were all right. Besides, it was just human nature, allowing their family to be together for the Lunar New Year. It's time for the New Year's Eve dinner. Let's go to the cafeteria first, Hua Yangsing said with a smile. The rapid progress of the project had made her lose her usual seriousness. The family followed Hua Yangsing to the cafeteria. Hua Yangsing led Wu Tong and his family to a small private dining room. Inside, The round table was already filled with the New Year's Eve dishes that the cafeteria had painstakingly prepared today. They were steaming hot, clearly freshly served. They were prepared specifically for Wu Tong, so that he could talk with his family in space. It's just a last-minute arrangement, Chief Wu, Teacher Jin. It's a bit shabby. It's enough. It's more than enough. After all the thought, how could it be shabby? Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu said repeatedly, Mr. Hu, please sit down and have dinner together. Thanks to Mr. Hua's thoughtful and meticulous arrangements, they had to offer their gratitude and invite the person in charge to sit down. I still have to go outside to preside over the event and give a summary speech. I'll come back and talk to you later, Hua Yangxing agreed with a smile. She didn't want to waste any more time, leaving some space for Wu Tong and her family to have a private chat. The core engineers and Tao Ran's group of core members of the chemical synthesis laboratory would probably come over to give their best wishes to Wu Tong. Okay, go ahead, go ahead. Be sure to come and have dinner together later. They couldn't delay their business. Jin Yu released Hua Yangxing's hand, asking her to get back to her business. They would still have time to wait for her to arrive before starting the meal. Dad, Mom, sit down and have a cup of hot tea to warm yourself up. It's even colder here than at home. Are you freezing? Wu Tong led her parents into the private room. She grabbed the rock sugar, goji berry, and red date tea that had been simmering on the table and poured each of them a cup, letting them warm up and ward off the cold. Try this tea. It's a local specialty. The dates and goji berries here are really good. I'm planning to send some back home next year when I have time. This was her plan, to take 2 days off to explore the world before she could even execute it. She was so happy to welcome her parents to her home that she didn't know how to express it. We're not cold, we're all wearing down jackets. As soon as we got off the plane, we got into the car. The heater was on full blast, so we put on our coats after we got out. Now that we're inside, the heat is on full blast too, so we won't be able to wear our coats anymore. Wu Jingzhong took off his down jacket. We haven't neglected ourselves this year and have been exercising diligently. We are much more resistant to cold than before. Jin Yu also took off her big down jacket with the help of Wu Tong. It's warm here, and you won't feel cold just by wearing a sweater inside. Comrade Fan and the others walked fast on the road. We didn't expect to see you so soon and watch the Spring Festival Gala together, Jin Yu sighed sincerely. She glanced at the TV in the room. It was still during commercials, and there were still a few minutes before the Spring Festival Gala started. She stroked Wu Tong's hand, which was holding her tightly, and sat down together. The feeling of having her daughter in her arms, right in front of her, greatly comforted their longing for the past 6 months. It's my fault. I grew wings and flew away. I didn't have the time to fly back to see you. Wu Tong did not regret her decision, but when she really saw her parents, she still felt very sorry for her family. We've raised you. As long as you're healthy, successful, and able to put your knowledge to good use, we're all proud. How can we just sit there with these 2 old sparrows? Jin Yu pulled their daughter into her arms. Even Tong didn't need to tell them, just from the treatment they'd received along the way, and the simple Mr. Wu, they suspected their child's importance here was probably beyond their wildest expectations. Their child's academic success, their contribution to the country, their work benefiting the nation and its people, filled them with pride, and they couldn't let her down. We'll be right here, staying put. When you're tired, come home and rest. Wu Jingzhong comforted his daughter with a smile of pure joy. Over a year ago, they worried about their child's future, believing their limited abilities as parents meant little to them, unable to help or arrange anything for her. Now, their Tong, through her own hard work and study, has reached the pinnacle of her education, a source of pride for them as parents. This is a beauty they never dared to imagine. To say they didn't miss their child would be a lie, but no matter how much they missed her, they couldn't break her wings that allowed her to soar. Their precious child needed to fly freely. When she tired or hurt, her parents would always be there for her. Their only hope was to be there for her. Therefore, over the past year, they had never slacked off on their self-care. Determined to do their utmost to spend more time with Tong for the rest of her life. If Tong found a suitable partner in the future, they wished her well on another wonderful journey. If she devoted herself to research, they would have to take even better care of themselves. No one could leave Tong in their care, as their parents, with a peace of mind they felt. With their child away, the couple inevitably pondered and discussed the future, but this was their unanimous decision. Then I'll always be dependent on you. Wu Tong snuggled in her mother's arms, her heart filled with happiness. At that moment, she was truly a happy child. She wasn't the head of a national project, but rather the one blessed with the unwavering love and support of her parents. Chapter 188 Greetings. Wu Tong wasn't embarrassed at all. Everyone was a baby, she was just a few months older. Okay, I'll let you stay. It was rare for their daughter to have some childlike innocence, so how could Jin Yu and Wu Jingzhong not be satisfied? They looked at Wu Tong with smiles on their faces, unable to get enough. Having a child nestled beside them wasn't just a dream, they really wanted to be with Tong, in the same place, celebrating the new year together. On the television, the red curtain of the Spring Festival Gala began on National Channel 1. Joyful music blared, and the cheerful songs, accompanied by vibrant dances, filled the screen, enveloping the nation in a peaceful and prosperous atmosphere. After the opening song, the hosts took the stage, shouting Happy New Year, and the festive atmosphere of the New Year instantly came to life. The Spring Festival Gala held a unique meaning for the Chinese people. The entire nation watched the gala together. Even in later generations, when the show was criticized for its increasingly unsightly quality, many people still listened to it during the Spring Festival, even if it was just background music. Hu Yangxing quickly greeted all the staff who stayed at the institute outside and returned to the private room. Boss Hu, hurry up, the Spring Festival Gala has just started and the host is giving a speech. The whole family stood up and greeted Hu Yangxing, asking him to take a seat. Hu Yangxing pressed her hands repeatedly. Hurry up and sit down, why haven't you started eating yet? Did you say you don't have to wait for me? Fortunately, she didn't delay and came back quickly. She sat down next to Jin Yu. Wu Tong was sitting between her parents. Everyone, hurry up and eat. Wu Tong has been busy all day. Section Chief Wu and Teacher Jin have come from afar and are exhausted. Hurry and eat something. Hu Yangxing greeted Wu Tong's family with a smile and poured drinks for everyone. Alcohol affects the brain. Wu Tong is underage, and more importantly, her brain can definitely be listed as a national treasure. Hu Yangxing didn't ask anyone to prepare any drinks, but instead prepared some corn and red date juice, apricot peel water, red date and wolfberry tea, and other special drinks that nourish the body, replenish qi, and stimulate the appetite. Wu Tong served each person a bowl of soup first. As the younger one, she took it upon herself to serve. Hu Yangxing took it, glanced at the TV, and said with a mysterious smile, Wu Tong, there's a surprise on tonight's Spring Festival Gala. Check it out. What surprise? Wu Tong, along with the curious Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu, simultaneously glanced at the TV. They noticed something unusual about this year's Spring Festival Gala. At the official opening, the host offered the usual congratulatory and emotional remarks. Logically, the first program should have been announced, usually a New Year's song. But then the six hosts changed the subject, with the lead host suddenly mentioning this year's Spring Festival Gala theme. Tonight, tigers leap and dragons soar isn't just a byword, we're welcoming the true soaring of the dragon. Tonight, a special team of guests will be spending the night with us under the blue sky, welcoming the arrival of the new year and touring the nation, bringing blessings and peace. They're ready now. Let's hand the show over to them and welcome our soaring dragon. Many viewers, still unaware of the change, assumed it was a special program arranged by the national broadcaster, featuring traditional dragon dances, and eagerly anticipated the excitement. Some elderly people, still reminiscing with their children, remarked on how it had been years since they'd seen dragon and lion dances. They'd seen them once as children and couldn't forget them. But the entire nation, watching the change in perspective, suddenly fell silent. The outfield view, split into multiple screens, showed sleek, sharp-looking, tiny green steel eagles, accelerating from various runways. Their azure tails erupted, and after just a short distance, they soared into the sky. As the sonic boom resounded, many military enthusiasts clenched their fists in astonishment, exclaiming, "Amazing!" Almost a catapult, instantly reaching hypersonic speeds, they hadn't taken off from the same airport, but in the blink of an eye, they met in the blue sky, swooping, turning, and passing each other. Their extraordinary maneuvers captivated the entire television audience, forming a V-shaped formation, streaking like a shooting star before disappearing from the camera's view. What kind of performance was this? Such speed? What kind of fighter was this? How had they never seen it before? Such powerful maneuvers? The victory dragon has been commissioned, Wu Tong exclaimed in delight at the sight of the soaring fighter. Perhaps most viewers watching the Spring Festival Gala on TV were unable to recognize it, but Wu Tong, who had worked with Lu Xiao to perfect its design and witnessed its maiden flight, was sure to recognize it. She hadn't expected the Weilong to officially debut during the National New Year celebrations. On this day of celebration across the country, we also welcome a new member. Our new fighter jet J-20 makes its debut, celebrating the new year with us, cruising the blue sky for us, guarding the blue sky, and sending New Year blessings to the Chinese people in all directions. This is the capital Shangjing. Weilong wishes the people of the whole country a happy new year. We have crossed the Great Wall and our first stop is here. We say hello to the people of the whole country. Yes, they have been working around the clock to stabilize the production process and have built a total of the first batch of 5 Weilong J-20 fighter jets. Today, they are officially unveiled, allowing the world to see their style. Her first paint job is called Kangwu Green, and it is called Wu Tong Green internally. Hua Yangsing's voice matched the background sound of the host on TV. He smiled deeply and looked at Wu Tong. Perhaps uninformed viewers might mistake it for a military green based on camouflage, but only the most important figures, such as Lu Xiao, Yang Wei, Cheng Lao, and the Air Force leadership, those who knew Wu Tong, understood that this was a specially developed and selected color for the Weilong's debut livery, in appreciation of his contributions. However, to protect Wu Tong, they avoided the more obvious term Wu Tong Green and instead used the more subtle Kangwu to refer to it. Anciently, there was a sacred tree called Kangwu, a pillar supporting the heavens, possessing a pure and spiritual wisdom. This is a romantic expression of the vastness and depth of Chinese culture, and also a tribute to Wu Tong. Wow, the J-20 has been unveiled. A new force has joined our Chinese skies. How wonderful, Wu Jingzhong, also a military enthusiast, exclaimed with excitement at the powerful performance of the soaring fighter. Our Chinese researchers are truly remarkable. They've sent the J-20 into service so quickly. He remembered that it hadn't been that long since the news broke that the J-20 had entered development. Amazing. Truly amazing, that was Wu Jingzhong's initial reaction. China technology, striding forward, is fantastic. Jin Yu was more sensitive. Did she hear it wrong? She felt that President Hua's words had a hidden meaning. However, she didn't dare speculate on Wu Tong, fearing she might be wrong. Chapter 189 Tribute. The show continued as usual, inevitably drawing criticism for its cookie-cutter nature. However, even more people were eagerly discussing this year's special arrangement. What was its significance? Was it simply a way for the newly commissioned J-20 fighter jet to greet them, a way to show off the arrival of the J-20 fighter? Did it align with this year's Spring Festival Gala theme of tiger leaps and dragons? Hadn't the Spring Festival Gala ever been so grand? China, a great nation, has always been known for its calm and majestic demeanor, not such a flamboyant style. Could there be some deeper meaning, something they hadn't anticipated? The audience began calling friends and family, gathering around the television, anticipating the J-20's return. No need for toasts and drinks, just a meal would be quick. Tonight's menu was dazzling, and Wu Tong, having skipped a formal meal during the day, had indeed devoured a considerable amount. This was both a source of joy and heartache for Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu, the couple who had come all the way here, and for Hua Yangsing, who had meticulously arranged the meal. As the meal drew to a close, Wu Tong's phone rang. She glanced at the caller. It was the key figure she and President Hua had vaguely mentioned. As if to say, Cao is here, Cao is here, Happy New Year, President Wu. Lu Xiao congratulated him with a smile. In front of him was a screen displaying the real-time status of several J-20 fighter jets that had been commissioned. Teacher Lu, Happy New Year, Wu Tong's eyes curved with a smile. I dare not address you as president in front of you. Or do you need me to call you chief designer Lu? It was very stressful to have the commander address her as president. No, I'm outside right now, Lu Xiao chuckled, glancing at the screen showing the J-20's real-time trajectory. He asked with a smile, can you see the sky from where you are now? Yes, Wu Tong turned her head and glanced, then nodded in response. There was a large glass window on the back wall of the box, covered by curtains. If you opened it, you could definitely see the sky. Then look out the window and up, looking at what? Could it be? Wu Tong, confused yet vaguely expectant, followed his instructions, drawing aside the curtains, throwing open the window, and peering upwards. Wu Jingzhong and the others followed his lead, rising and looking out. Just then, a sonic boom roared in. The flight formation they had just seen on TV, flashing lights and greeting and salute, streaked low over the base from a safe distance, its tail flames a brilliant blue, the brightest star in the sky. It's a J-20, a J-20, Wu Jingzhong and the base staff who had heard the sonic boom and rushed out from the adjacent cafeteria to witness the J-20's passing presence, danced with joy. Some, dressed in brightly colored clothing, even waved their coats and cheered frantically. Mighty China, J-20 soars, thank you to all who are working diligently to make J-20 even stronger, Lu Xiao said solemnly. The reason the Huilong's first flight was to head westward was, firstly, to demonstrate its speed and power, and secondly, to express gratitude to the entire team working on the front lines to make the Huilong a more powerful weapon. Most importantly, it was to thank Wu Tong, who spearheaded its development and helped propel the Huilong to new heights. Thank you, Mr. Liu. We're delighted, and the staff on site are thrilled. Once again, Happy New Year. Wu Tong held her phone out the window, letting Lu Xiao hear the enthusiastic cheers. Retracting her phone, Wu Tong solemnly responded to this special tribute. Rest assured, Mr. Liu, and all the leaders who have high expectations of us, we will do our utmost to help the Huilong become even stronger and more powerful. Wu Tong silently calculated, missile, fuel, engine, now the basics were essentially complete. In March, she would definitely deliver a brand new PL-15 to the Huilong, fully armed and fully capable of dominating the blue skies. Even at a low speed, the Huilong flew by at a rapid speed. In an instant, like a meteor, it streaked through the sky, bounding towards the distant western border. Only when the Huilong disappeared did Wu Tong and the other excited staff members outside regretfully turn back. After hanging up on Lu Xiao, Wu Tong closed the window and returned to the round table with her parents, President Hui, and poured each of them a hot drink to ward off the cold. Having just opened the window to witness the miracle, she was certainly excited, but she also drank a lot of cold air. Tong, President Hui, it's only been half an hour, and the Huilong has already flown from Shangjing to Zizhao. After the shock subsided, Wu Jinggai mentally calculated the distance. From Shangjing to Zizhao, the border, the flight distance was about 2,000 kilometers in half an hour. What kind of speed is that, 4,000 kilometers in an hour? The straight line distance should be less than 2,000 kilometers. This wasn't the Huilong's actual data, it must have been under orders to keep its speed down, not reaching top speed. The Huilong's true speed, at top speed, was indeed at the 4,000 kilometer mark. Its maiden flight of 3.22 Mach was achieved without pushing its limits, but subsequent flight tests allowed the Huilong to consistently reach 4,000 kilometers. This is the world's fastest fighter jet. Few men are without passion. Wu Jingzhong, a military enthusiast, has studied the world's publicly available military equipment extensively. He has a mental ranking of fighter jet speeds, having previously lamented that the nation's late start meant their fighter jets still haven't caught up to the world's top performance and speed standards. But he hadn't expected that when he came to spend the new year with his daughter, besides the joy of seeing her, he would also witness such a groundbreaking astonishment. Almost there, the Huilong's speed has caught up with the world's top tier. This was data already disclosed by the nation, and Wu Tong didn't shy away from the topic, nodding in confirmation with her father. Dad, haven't you always dreamed that our nation's fighter jets could reach super speeds? Now the Huilong has done it. When she received the information about the Huilong, she had anticipated that she would do something practical to fulfill her father's wish. It's done. Huilong has done it. China has risen. Wu Jingzhong's excitement lingered, his mouth filled with exclamations. Huilong is amazing. Fantastic. It took a long while for Wu Jingzhong and the others outside, who had also reacted and calculated Huilong's approximate speed, to recover from their shock and joy. Thinking of Tong's reaction to the call, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu began to speculate, was Tong involved in a confidential project like Huilong? If so, the importance of the project Tong was involved in would increase. They would have to be more careful with their actions and words, not causing trouble for Tong. Until these details were fully disclosed and Tong's safety was assured, they would have to keep them to themselves, unable to reveal them even in their dreams. Nothing was more important than Tong's safety. They were proud and honored that Tong had the ability to participate in such a project. They could no longer see the limit for Tong's future, but they were certain it would be brighter than their best expectations. Initially, their hope for Tong's future was simply a hope for a stable job, good health, and protection from harm, just like them. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Unforgettable. At 9 o'clock, the host returned, and the live broadcast switched to an outdoor scene. From a unique aerial perspective, endless mountain ranges stretched before the viewer's eyes. The snow-capped peaks were pure and holy. The last glimmer of sunset's rays lingered on their peaks, casting a shadow over the pristine sky. The sky hadn't yet been completely enveloped by night, and the stars shone faintly. The perspective stretched from far to near, and everyone in front of the television could see the outline of the border post. The bright red flag fluttered prominently in the biting wind, and the voice of blessing rang out again. Here we are, at the far west of the motherland, where the sun sets last on the Chinese mainland. Here, majestic mountains stretch endlessly, a true plateau within a plateau. But even greater and more awe-inspiring than the mountains are the border guards who guard our nation's western gate. They brave the biting winds at 5,400 meters, endure year-round sub-zero temperatures, a temperature swing of over 30 degrees Celsius between day and night, and oxygen levels less than half those found on the plains, guarding our peaceful and prosperous times. They dedicate their youth, even their lives, to the motherland, composing songs of praise for the border guards' defense of the country. Tonight, our special guest team brings them blessings from the motherland. The western frontier of the motherland wishes the people of the nation a happy new year. The audience reacted in shock, only to be struck by even more astonishment. This was live footage. This special formation had just taken off from Beijing, just as the Spring Festival Gala began. It was only an hour later, and countless viewers couldn't help but check the clock. It was 9 o'clock. They hadn't time traveled. In an hour, the Dragon Fleet had already reached the nation's westernmost border. Is Shangjing 4,000 kilometers away? Even if the straight line distance isn't 4,000 kilometers, it's at least 3,000 kilometers. Fighter jet speed is measured in Mach, right, 3,000 kilometers, isn't that roughly Mach 3? How many fighter jets in the world can actually reach Mach 3? The Chinese fighter jet has made a comeback and reached the top. This was the immediate thought of every Chinese. The staff at the 624th Base Research Institute were even more impressed, feeling a special pride in being valued by the nation and having foresight. Suddenly, the internet was ablaze with wonder, and military fans and audiences nationwide were in ecstasy. Even a few cynics who were skeptical of the public intellectuals were immediately overcome by the collective power. The excitement of the nation's rise was unstoppable. After the previous Wu-Tong incident, when the collective was purged and their accounts were banned, the current cynics' combat effectiveness was only average. The state wouldn't have to intervene. These people, protected by the state, would justly eliminate them. A group of people, freshly moved by the righteous people's warriors who stood guard against the harsh conditions of their motherland's borders, were in high spirits. Anyone who dared to attack China, or even speak out in alarmist terms, would be met with a collective blow. The core experimentalists, more knowledgeable about the situation, had calmed their excitement after witnessing the sudden emergence of the dragon and divided their teams to greet General Wu Tunhua with New Year's greetings. Wu Tong, with tea instead of wine, celebrated the arrival of the new year with them. These core members, all highly qualified individuals, were curious about how Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu had nurtured such a top talent as Wu Xin. However, they suppressed their curiosity and left without interrupting. They simply exchanged greetings and well wishes before departing. There was no time to waste. Wu Xin was reunited with his family. This year's Spring Festival Gala, thanks to the dragon, was so popular that no one turned off the TV. The older generation of patriotic viewers were glued to their screens, anticipating the next dragon's appearance. Young people, on the other hand, were building massive online forums and Spring Festival Gala comment sections, speculating about the dragon's next destination. Many more Chinese, delayed by other matters and unable to watch the Spring Festival Gala, were searching for televisions to watch immediately. Advertising screens in major squares were almost uniformly projected, unsynchronized yet more effective than ever, switching to the Spring Festival Gala livestream. This was a heartfelt move from businesses, driven by profit. While some businesses might not be motivated by a desire for profit, they were also patriotic. It's not uncommon to follow the trend, but the act itself was a blessing. Just after 10 o'clock, the forums were filled with anticipation. The host took the stage once again, delivering an impassioned opening address, and the live feed switched to an outdoor scene. The vast, boundless sea, surging waves, appeared before the television audience. Even without the soundtrack, they understood that the sea had once again crossed thousands of kilometers to the south of the motherland. Was this the South China Sea? Yes, this is the South China Sea. Across the archipelago, Coast Guards braved danger, scorching heat, torrential rain, and typhoons to defend our country. From west to south, Weilong wishes all Coast Guards a Happy New Year. And also, in the southern reaches of our motherland, I wish the people of the nation a Happy New Year. Happy New Year to the Coast Guards, Weilong Niu Niu Niu. From Xinjiang to the South China Sea in 1 hour, Weilong miracle, miracle Weilong, China soars, Weilong soars. From west to south, thousands of kilometers more have been covered. Was it the same formation from before? The Weilongs had already covered nearly 8,000 kilometers, their range once again astonishing all those watching them. In such a short time, there was no chance for aerial refueling. Just after 11 o'clock, the television audience watched as a mighty river appeared before their eyes. Someone on the forum had already announced it before the host. This is the Ussuri River, the Border Defense Ussuri River, woohoo, woohoo. The Weilong has come to us, the Weilong has come to our beautiful Hejiang. This is the cheer of the locals, Blue Tail Flame. We saw the Weilong, 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 the mighty dragon. Big brother from the old Russians next door, just ask you if you saw it? Are you shocked? Let you cheat people, you have disintegrated, China has risen, surpassed, now our Weilong formation has arrived at the eastern end of the motherland, in the east of the motherland, to wish the people of the whole country a Happy New Year. At 12 o'clock, when the bell rang, with the accompaniment of Unforgettable Tonight, the picture of the Weilong appeared again. The cold wind blew across the vast expanse covered with snow, the northern lights unfolded here. This is the northernmost part of the motherland, this is Hima. Weilong has arrived in the northernmost reaches of our motherland, bringing our most sincere New Year's greetings to the Chinese people and our compatriots overseas. This night, this moment of family reunion, will be unforgettable. It is a moment of sincerity and blessings that will live forever in our hearts. Let us march to the beat of the drums of celebration for the new year and sing for the rising China. Tomorrow will surely be brilliant. As the New Year's bells ring, we welcome a new chapter in the new year. Chapter 191 Believe. Almost without exception, everyone stayed in front of the Spring Festival Gala livestream, awaiting this hourly miracle, persevering until the very last moment. Traveling southwest, northeast, and including the return trip, they had to calculate a staggering total distance, 20,000 kilometers, 20,000 kilometers. Am I dreaming? Or did I miscalculate? If this is a dream, let us never wake up. Departing from the capital, the mighty dragon formation soared across the nation, a true herdsman patrol, the miracle of fighter jets, the divine brilliance of fighter jets, supreme speed, supreme maneuverability, supreme performance. Mighty China. Even after midnight, the audience and netizens were still brimming with excitement, unable to sleep. Online and offline, heated discussions raged, forums popped up, filled with cheers and shouts. Tonight's revelry wouldn't stop. Sweat dances like a mighty dragon in a brocade robe, an eagle soars across the azure sky, its face ablaze with splendor. Soaring 1,000 miles, a majestic wind rises, soaring straight into the heavens and reaching the ninth heaven. Fighter planes loomed in the blue sky, the faces of China's friendly neighbors rejoiced. Science and technology have revitalized the nation, bearing fruit. Innovation and independence have forged its dignity. Military-civilian unity is as solid as a rock. Party and government are united as one, forging a new path. Our territorial waters and airspace are sacred grounds. We must hold our heads high and strive to surpass the first. Let the waves tumble, your wings spread across the vast sky, leaving no trace. Looking up at the setting sun, a rainbow rises from the vast, cold sky. Sharks soar through the waves, leaping through the heavens, arrows soar through the clouds and mist. Many people were inspired to write, their pens flowing with poetry, churning out beautiful verses. We pay tribute to the talented, borrowing from you. You are our online poets. Thank you for your contributions, and thank you for the scientific researchers who have made great strides in Chinese science and technology. As the domestic internet was abuzz, someone from the overseas broadcast captured a unique scene. The media, sensing the enthusiasm, reposted it, and the buzz gradually grew. Many who saw the report wondered if the media had made a mistake, if they were deceiving the public for news effect. This has also caught the attention of many countries, those across the sea, China's neighbors, the EU. Is China developing a super fighter capable of flying at around Mach 3? Why hadn't there been any news of this before? How did Chinese technology suddenly leap forward? Wasn't China's previous fighter jet still the third-generation J-10? What were their intelligence agencies doing? How did China's fourth-generation, perhaps even fifth-generation, J-20, with its high situational awareness, high maneuverability, high stealth, and ultra-high speed, suddenly appear? Those so-called expert assessments are bullshit. Did they say that China's new fighter jet would never be developed, manufactured, and put into service within 10 years? Then what about this new beyond visual range fighter jet flying over Chinese airspace to celebrate the new year? Do they have to wait until they see it flying overhead to discover that China already has a new fighter jet? They have received snippets of information about China's new fighter jet development, but China's secrecy is so tight that their personnel are unable to access the detailed information. Because of this exceptionally grand New Year's celebration, countless hidden forces were set in motion. Chinese security officials beamed. The bait had been cast, and now they were ready to reap the juicy catch. China always achieves multiple goals with one move. The J-20's debut showcased China's strength as a major power, tested the J-20's full-range flight capabilities, and celebrated the New Year with fellow Chinese. Only those who fish understand this, and it served as a deterrent to all. Sixth, Wu Tong could probably guess what was going on outside, but that had never been her primary focus. Indoors and outdoors, everyone stayed up together, watching the J-20's final appearance on the Spring Festival Gala, the ringing of the New Year's bell, and the host's farewell. Even then, few people were leaving. Everyone chatted, laughed, and chatted, relaxing, socializing, wishing each other a happy new year. No restrictions. They could stay up all night, as they pleased. Tomorrow was a day off, plenty of time to catch up. At midnight, they entered the new year. Chinese people only feel they've completed a year after celebrating the Lunar New Year. New Year's Day is merely a solar term for them, not a psychological celebration of the Lunar New Year. While many people may not be particularly sensitive to the lunar calendar these days, the last month of the lunar calendar and the first lunar month are the times when many people's memories of the calendar are most vivid. This is especially true during the last few days of the 12th lunar month, near the Lunar New Year, and the days leading up to the 15th day of the first lunar month. Mr. Hui, Happy New Year. I'm here to wish you an early New Year. Wu Tong, accompanied by his parents, extended New Year's greetings to Mr. Hui. The single word good conveyed Wu Tong's best wishes for Huyanzing in the coming year. Everything going smoothly is good, everything going well is good, and happiness and contentment are even better. Wu Tong, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Take your parents home to rest first. You two have traveled a long way here, and it's already late at night. Hurry and go back with Wu Tong to get a good night's sleep. Hua Yangsing sent the family of three out, and specifically reminded them, Wu Tong, progress can't be achieved in a day. Get a good rest tomorrow and spend time with your parents, okay? President Hui, you should go home and rest early too. If the young people in the team want to stay up all night to celebrate the new year, let them have some fun. You don't have to stay up with them. Wu Tong waved her hand and also instructed Hua Yangsing. For the past 2 months, she had been focused on research, producing results to advance the project progress, and acting as a hands-off boss. President Hua was the one who took the trouble to steer and manage everything in the team, big and small. It really took a lot of effort and hard work. Okay, go back quickly, it's cold outside. Seeing that Kai and Wenji had emerged from darkness and followed Wu Tong, Hua Yangsing waved her hand and urged them. Wu Tong is still a child, the youngest in the team. She hasn't left the office building since yesterday. Don't worry, just go back and get some rest. Having already passed the clear path in front of Wu Tong's parents, and now that it was late at night, Kai and Wenji met them directly at the small exit of the cafeteria, escorting Wu Tong and her parents back to the dormitory safely. They didn't relax their vigilance for Wu Tong's safety just because it was Chinese New Year. Danger often only lasts for a moment, and all precautions are for that moment. The rest of the time, we have to be on high alert. Tong, you're back? I've already cleaned up my uncle and aunt's room, and put the luggage in. Hearing the noise, and Wenchu smiled and opened the door. Dad, Mom, let me introduce you again. Yi, Brother K, Wang Ji, Brother Wang, and Wenchu, Sister N. They have always been responsible for protecting my safety and doing their best. After entering the living room, Wu Tong solemnly introduced them again. This time, she officially informed her parents that these three were her protectors. Happy New Year, Uncle and Auntie. It's great to see you again, and Wenchu greeted with a beaming smile. Wang Ji had already informed her when he delivered the luggage, and they had cleared the way for Wu Tong's parents. Happy New Year. Comrade K, Comrade Wang, Comrade N, thank you for continuing to take care of our Tong. Thank you, the couple said gratefully. The country was specifically responsible for protecting Tong's safety. Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu were both concerned about Wu Tong's level of confidentiality, but also felt a sense of relief that his safety was guaranteed. They trusted the country to protect Tong. Chapter 192 Second Test. Wu Tong sent her parents back to their room to settle in. Her current dorm, a smaller one with 3 bedrooms, a living room, and a bathroom, was occupied by Wu Tong and Wenchu. The first room was originally intended for Wu Tong's study. However, Wu Tong spent most of her time in the office or lab. Occasionally, when she felt like studying mathematics, she would do so in her own room. She had never been particular about her work environment, so she left it vacant. Meanwhile, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu arrived and stayed. After explaining the placement of her parents' belongings, she waited for them to wash up and chatted with them for a while. Only reluctantly did Wu Tong wash up and rest at her parents' urging. Seeing her parents, not only did they miss her, but she also couldn't bear to let them out of her sight. If she hadn't grown up, she would have definitely fallen asleep next to them, just like when she was little. At daybreak, Wu Tong fell into her habit. No matter how late she slept, Wu Tong's body clock still urges her to wake up at her usual time. The sun rises later in Zizhao, so Wu Tong washed up and resumed her previous work, studying the Goldbach conjecture for a while before the sun finally rose. Her room had a large, sunny bay window, her usual spot for meditation. Seeing their daughter, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu felt happy and relaxed. They slept soundly, waking up to daybreak. Mom and Dad, are you awake? Did you sleep well? Wu Tong looked up from her work computer in the living room. The porridge and mutton soup are in the thermos, along with the fried dumplings. Let's have breakfast first. Upon stepping outside, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu were in a happier mood. Tong, get busy first. Your dad and I will wash up. It's no wonder they didn't wake her up. It must be Tong's concern for them, wanting them to sleep in a little longer. Where are Xiaon and the others? Wu Jingzhong welcomed the novelty and served them mutton soup with the fried dumplings. Jin Yu preferred lighter tastes, so the porridge was left for her. Have you had breakfast yet? Sister N and the others are next door. I already had breakfast when Sister N brought it over this morning. Wu Tong saved it and closed her computer. She wasn't going to the lab today, focusing on spending time with her parents. They couldn't wander around the base freely. At most, they could hang out in the dormitory cafeteria and other common areas, so they couldn't take their parents on a longer tour. For Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu, whether they could visit the base wasn't important. It was such a confidential place, and being able to see their children was a blessing. They shouldn't be greedy and seek more, one should cherish what they have. Their trip wasn't easy, and their daughter was expected to be busy for a while, so spending more time with her was the most important thing. They planned to stay here until the 5th day of the Lunar New Year, then go home on the 6th. On the 7th, Wu Jingzhong's vacation would be over and he would have to start work. They wouldn't stay here any longer, to spare Tong any worries. After a lazy first day, they spent the day with their parents at their residence. On the 2nd, Wu Tong apologized, having to return to work to catch up on the project, leaving her parents to their own dorm. Tong, go ahead and do your work. Don't worry about us. Xiao K said he'll have Xiao Wang take us out for a walk. It's just perfect for your mom and me to see what it's like to stand in the vast desert with yellow sand and a solitary smoke rising. Early on the morning of the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year, Wu Jingzhong and Jin Yu dropped Wu Tong off at her apartment and waved goodbye. Kei explained that the lab was well secured and they wouldn't be needed. However, just in case, Kei and Wenshu would stay on duty, leaving Wenji to accompany Wu Tong's parents on their outings. Someone from the fan team would also be accompanying them. Brother Kei, please take care of it, Wu Tong nodded. My lab schedule is tight today, so I won't be leaving the office building. Feel free to make arrangements. With her parents settled, Wu Tong threw herself into the project, hoping to finish the day's work quickly so as she could return home and spend more time with her parents. Her parents had come all the way here, primarily to see her. The most important thing today was to conduct a second test run of the engine coating. Wu Tong rushed to the lab early in the morning, intending to prepare enough of the new coating. However, this work was preempted by Tao Ran and the others. You didn't rest yesterday, Wu Tong was surprised. They were all more diligent than her. Tao Ran smiled innocently. We did, Mr. Wu. We were resting yesterday morning, and we had nothing to do in the dormitory this afternoon, so we came to the lab to repeat the preparation experiment. Without Mr. Wu's supervision, their accuracy and experimental proficiency were still insufficient. The first preparation was not very successful, which made them blush with shame. Practice more, so you can master the techniques and procedures. Learning from Wu Shen, with such excellent conditions, they are only at this level. How can they show off their skills? They are all ambitious and strong-willed. After discussing and checking the problems, they restarted the experiment 2 or 3 times and finally prepared a new coating material that meets the standards. They can give Wu Shen a little surprise today. Thank you. This will be very useful to us. You've worked so hard. Go get some rest. Before leaving, Wu Tong thanked them and gave them a special reminder. Their hard work allowed her to skip a step and move directly to the next process. Engineer Ma, Engineer Jin, this is the new high-temperature resistant coating solution recently developed in the chemistry lab. Please arrange for it to be applied to the engine nozzles and inner chamber walls. Engineer Sun, help me adjust the engine cooling system. Entering the office area and seeing the personnel in place, Wu Tong immediately assigned them their tasks and plunged headfirst into the immersive repair work. 2 hours later, all repairs were complete, the engine reassembled, N24 fuel loaded, weighted, and all inspections completed. Once again, everything was ready. Wu Tong stared at the engine and gave the command, ignition, second test begins. Record the data. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The engine once again emitted a faint red flame, instantly drawing a scorching heat that assaulted every component it passed through. Wu Tong stared at something that didn't seem to have changed much, but upon closer inspection, he could see a silver-coated nozzle and every component within his sight had been coated. This time, no matter how high the engine inlet temperature rose, the nozzle and other components still easily withstood the high temperature burn, with no signs of melting as before. This was an excellent state, clearly not reaching the upper limit of the high temperature. The core engineers who noticed this situation couldn't help but smile with joy. This time, their scramjet engine had truly achieved a perfect test run. Mr. Wu was amazing. In just 3 or 4 days, and even after the Chinese New Year, he had achieved 2 key results in a short time: adjustments to the engine cooling system and reinforcement with a new coating material, overcoming the disadvantage of high internal engine temperatures in one fell swoop. Chapter 193 Promise. Soon, the fuel burned completely. Wu Tong's gaze shifted to the display screens in the test chamber. All the data was as expected, especially the cooling system data, which met her predictions, achieving a 50% improvement and a 53% increase in energy efficiency. Not bad. After cooling down slightly, Wu Tong and her team took a closer look, confirming that the engine nozzle and nearby components were indeed intact. Damage to the coating requires microscopic testing with more sophisticated instruments and is invisible to the naked eye. But comparing the current situation with the previous one, the coating was successful, and the positive impact was quite noticeable. The second test run was a complete success. Thank you everyone, Wu Tong announced this exciting news. Looking at this exquisite masterpiece before her, she felt a surge of emotion. From learning to designing, to turning the design into reality, through 1 test run and 2 test runs, she finally achieved perfection. After 3 full months of hard work, she could finally say that the scramjet dual-pulse compression engine had lived up to her expectations and had been successfully developed. After the cheers of the experimental team subsided, Wu Tong smiled and gave instructions. 100 steps have been taken. Thank you for your hard work. Everyone, please restrain your excitement. Let's start by collecting experimental data. I'll report the progress later and take credit for it. No problem, Mr. Wu, we won't bother, we'll complete the task. Everyone rushed to respond. It was Mr. Wu who painstakingly spearheaded the effort, overcoming each and every obstacle. They were all people who benefited from Mr. Wu's generous support. If they couldn't do this little thing, collecting data, well, it would be a real shame. Wu Tong returned to her office and pulled out the overall design for the PL-15. The power plant was essentially finalized, the body design was finalized, the ammunition was being synthesized, and the warhead was being assembled. The projectile was not too far off from being fully synthesized. Overseeing the preparation of the warhead, the body, and the design and preparation of the guidance system would be her next focus. Wu Tong dialed the number. Teacher Lu, Happy New Year. Sorry to bother you at this time, Wu Tong, Happy New Year, no need to bother you. On the first day of the new year, the Weilong formation returned home. The ultra-long distance debut had been a complete success, proving the Weilong's superiority. He had truly completed and delivered Project 20. He finally breathed a sigh of relief, took a short break, and spent time with his grandfather in Beijing. The next project to be approved would be a true international fifth-generation fighter. The person in charge would be the country's decision on whether to continue using him. Want to ask about the guidance system? I've roughly finalized it. Give me another week and I'll have the detailed design ready for you. Wu Tong wasn't the type to call for small talk. She was so busy back home that she didn't even have time to go home for the new year. Presumably, she'd contacted him about the progress of the guidance system. Knowing its importance, Lu Xiao didn't make any excuses and promptly updated Wu Tong on the progress, just as Wu Tong had been forthright in assisting with the Weilong's progress. Thank you, Mr. Lu, for your hard work, Wu Tong thanked him. Then hung up the phone and made a second call. Engineer Su, how's the progress on the missile body materials, MR? Wu, the equipment is basically in place, and production upgrades are underway. Calibration and testing will be completed within 3 days. We estimate that everything will go smoothly. Within 5 days, by the 7th day of the Lunar New Year at the latest, we'll have the best missile body you can produce, Engineer Su confirmed firmly. If he hadn't been upgrading the production line, he would have completed this step long ago. Okay, thank you, Engineer Su, for your hard work. I'll leave everything to you. Wu Tong wrote down the time in his notepad. The two chief engineers were trustworthy people. If they said it was this time, it would be this time. The launch device was successful, and Wu Tong first uploaded a report to the system, including information on the successful development and preparation of a new high-temperature resistant coating. This coating has a wide range of uses, especially for various missiles currently in service, as it is a prerequisite for their replacement of N-24 fuel. This high-temperature resistant coating can also be used in other sectors of the aerospace industry. Wu Tong also made a backup of the information on the new cooling system, which he would hand over when the time came. He'd see what was needed, hoping it would provide some inspiration for their work. As things were being arranged, night fell again. The cold nights were getting dark early, and thinking of his parents, Wu Tong stopped working overtime and hurried home, even catching up to have dinner with Wu Jingzhong and Jinayu, who had just returned from an outing. The cafeteria offered a wide selection of delicious dishes, and the basic facilities were adequate for scientific research. After verifying the cafeteria's conditions, Wu Jingzhong and Jinayu felt reassured about their daughter's stay. They also spoke with Kei and others today, choosing only what to share. To reassure Wu Tong's parents, Kei provided many answers, which gave Wu Jingzhong and Jinayu a comprehensive understanding. Tong had dedicated protection, ensuring her safety. Tong's daily needs were taken care of by a dedicated team. Nutritious meals were delivered to her regularly, and regular physical examinations were conducted. Tong's well-being was under the watchful eye of a dedicated team. Every aspect of her care was centered around her, allowing her to focus solely on her research. It was safe to say that their arrangements were even more thoughtful than theirs, their parents. What else could they possibly worry about? So, after some discussion, Wu Jingzhong and Jinyu, though reluctant, decided to return home early on the 4th day of the Lunar New Year. They couldn't offer much help here, and would only cause her more worry. Since Tong was doing well here, they were relieved. An early return would allow her to fully devote herself to her beloved research. Tong had chosen her path, pursuing research that benefited both the nation and the people. They were proud and wholeheartedly supportive. Isn't it the 6th day of the Lunar New Year? Tong was caught off guard when she heard her parents' decision. When she returned home on the 3rd day, she had already planned to catch up on work and try to see her parents off on the 6th day. It's all good for you. Your dad and I are confident in our country, so we'll delay. Go home early so you can spend time with your grandparents. I'm your mother, but I'm also their daughter. Your grandparents and uncle are all worried about you. If we go back early, we can talk to them about your situation and put their minds at ease. Jin Yu's words made sense, and although Tong was reluctant to leave, she ultimately stopped trying to dissuade him. While her parents were here, she had only been away for a visit on the 2nd day of the Lunar New Year. They had been staying in the dormitory. It was such a small place, and she would be gone all day. She would rush back at night and barely say a word. Her parents were worried about her and wanted her to rest early. She hadn't spent much time with them, and they couldn't let her leave them alone and let them stay here bored because of her reluctance. I'll finish my mission as soon as possible and stay home longer. Tong sat between her parents, resting her head on her mother's shoulder, and made a deep promise. Chapter 194 Belonging. Do everything to perfection, and live up to the trust of the country and the organization. Jinghong gently patted his daughter's shoulder and gave her formal instructions. When they were less capable, they should be law-abiding citizens, obeying state management and being protected by the state. However, since their child was exceptional and possessed the abilities the country needed, they should, while ensuring their own well-being, contribute to the nation. Forgive his selfishness as a father, unable to make Tong risk her life, endure fire and water, and sacrifice herself for others. Early in the morning on the 4th day of the Lunar New Year, in front of the 624 Research Institute. Take care of yourself. This was the couple's most important instruction to Tong, and they insisted on not letting her go. The institute's heavily guarded security was far safer. They shouldn't risk their lives simply to send her off. Nothing was more important than Tong's safety. Besides, the long journey to and from the airport would be exhausting. They would eventually have to say their parting, so they preferred not to let Tong suffer through such a torment. It would only tire her. Fan Junfang assigned his own guards and Wen Ji, who had been assigned to Tong's unit, to safely get the Wu couple to the plane. Hu Yangxing had someone prepare a number of local specialties, which were packed for the couple to take away. Unable to refuse, Jin Yu and Jinghong could only express their gratitude. Thank you for your trouble and expense. You're welcome, you're welcome. It's no big deal. It's worth it for you to come all the way here and bring some specialties to share with the rest of the family. Thank you for your trust, and thank you for raising Tong to be such an outstanding person. With a child like Tong, the couple will have many blessings in the future. Tong's dedication to his family has been taken into consideration by the higher-ups. The safety and protection of Tong's family is also a relevant concern. Tong, we're leaving. Mom and Dad will be waiting for you when you're done. With a final, reluctant hug for Tong, Jinghong and Jin Yu, together, steeled their hearts and got into the car, waving goodbye through the window. If they didn't leave now, they would truly be unable to move. With everyone in place, the car started and began to move forward. Tong involuntarily took 2 steps forward before she stopped herself. She hadn't yet fulfilled her responsibilities, and she had no right to act recklessly. Tong, Hu Yangxing patted Tong's shoulder, soothing her softly. She was a mother herself, having left her young child behind to rush to the project, her child's heartbreaking cries still ringing in her ears. But there was no other way. National research had to be done, and someone had to sacrifice. The inability to balance family and country was a heartbreaking experience for most researchers, and the nation was already doing its best to accommodate them. Tong was still 6 months away from adulthood, still a child. She had every right to cry. This child had already done so well, beyond anyone's imagination. She could, in fact, be more willful, demand more. It's okay, President Hu, let's go back. I need to finish the PL-15 as soon as possible. As the car disappeared from sight, Tong raised her hand and gently wiped away the tears that were now welling up in her eyes. Sentiment was pointless. She preferred action, completing the project as quickly as possible, returning home as soon as possible so she could spend more time with her parents. In the car driving away, Jin Yu could no longer restrain herself and covered her mouth with tears in her eyes. Just now, they saw Tong's unconscious pursuit of the car from the car window. If they hadn't covered their mouths, they would have almost shouted to stop the car and got out of the car. It was unstoppable to miss him when he was not with her. When he saw his child, he felt another kind of reluctance and heartache when he left. However, they still did not regret coming here. Spending the new year with Tong's family of 3, and seeing with their own eyes that Tong was doing well, they felt more at ease when they returned home. As soon as they returned to the office, the comrades in charge of picking up and transferring the data were already in place. Wu-Tong put the prepared coding and cooling system data disks and N18 separate data disks into the confidential box they brought. They will escort the data away and transfer it to where it is needed. The leader of the transfer team gave Wu-Tong a deep military salute. "Thank you, Commander. The leadership has entrusted me to personally pay our tribute to you. Thank you for bringing new possibilities to the nation, making our weapons more powerful and our combat capability even greater." Before departure, they were repeatedly reminded that this small disk of information was worth more than a fortune, and they would defend its security to the death. "Thank you, Commander," Wu-Tong bowed, feeling honored to be of any use. After sending the information away, Wu-Tong resumed her experiments. She repeatedly prepared the engine, ran 3 test runs, then 4 test runs, constantly verifying the engine's performance. Although most missile engines are essentially disposable, they also strived for excellence, ensuring the most precise preparation and verification. Meanwhile, other teams were simultaneously arranging the other components of the PL-15. On the 7th day of the Lunar New Year, Engineer Su received the long-awaited call from Wu-Tong. "Boss Wu, we've lived up to your expectations and accomplished the mission. The missile body is complete." With an excited report, the countdown to the PL-15's completion began. Preliminary assembly began, with the engine, oxidizer tank, propellant tank, engine mount, tail fin. Each item was prepared with the utmost vigor, like clockwork. The 624th Institute, a missile research and testing base, had well-developed production lines for all these processes, ensuring precise dimensions within the process range. Wu-Tong's command was given, and the entire base sprang into action. Materials had been pre-allocated, and funds were flowing freely. Fortunately, Wu-Tong had single-handedly overcome many of the challenges, and most experiments were successful the first time. The main expense came from repeated preparation and verification, so the initial, most challenging phase of their R&D wasn't particularly expensive. Now that they were truly entering the funding phase, they were able to hold on, and didn't need to apply for a second phase of funding for the time being. The funding approved by the research department was only for the initial phase of R&D, and they were prepared for continuous trial and error, burning through the budget until success. They were also prepared for a potentially 3 to 5 year battle. However, Chu Hengin and Lin Hemming, the project leaders, and the co-financing partners, the Air Force and the artillery, could never have imagined Wu-Tong's swiftness. Within a week or two of project launch, he'd achieved 2 major breakthroughs, superfuel and super explosives, a significant step forward. He also added the N18, which had the potential to create artificial gas mines. Before they could digest the shock of these 2 breakthroughs, just a month later, Wu-Tong had already led his team in developing a new engine, successfully testing it, and laying the foundation for the initial miniaturization of air-to-air missiles. Their excitement had barely subsided, and just 2 or 3 days after flexing the muscles of the Weilong, Wu-Tong had achieved another breakthrough, ensuring the ability to upgrade missiles in service nationwide with new fuels. He had also successfully developed a super high-temperature resistant coating and a cooling system design, essential for aerospace applications and crucial for a 50% performance improvement. These major breakthroughs were a roller coaster ride of excitement, a thrill so intense that they felt like clapping their hands and cheering. Once again, I am extremely grateful that they made the right choice and trusted and supported Wu-Tong. Wu-Tong belongs to China. Chapter 195 Finalization. On the afternoon of the 8th day of the Lunar New Year, Lu Xiao personally visited the 624th Institute and delivered a diagram of the guidance system components. Radar, infrared detectors, optical sensors, every component and every circuit was clearly outlined, allowing for easy comprehension at a glance. Wu-Tong gave him a thumbs up, filled with admiration. Based on the new array radar, we've refined the radar and detection sensors, and simultaneously upgraded a tracking algorithm and control system. We hope it's worthy of the new PL-15, Lu Xiao carefully explained the concept behind his guidance system designed to Wu Tong. Designing the system itself shouldn't take too long, so they meticulously refined it, upgrading the existing system. Thank you, Teacher Lu, Wu Tong thanked him. Designing and upgrading it took considerable effort. Many of these technologies are also applicable to the Weilong, so we worked on it together. He had already led the team in developing this foundation a few years ago, and now it was time for an upgrade. It wasn't a major undertaking, so he didn't pull it off separately. Instead, he oversaw the Weilong's preparations while also working on the project. Wu Tong nodded, now fully understanding the importance of this. Powerful radar systems can be used by land, sea, and air forces. Anti-missile systems are a national defense frontier. An ideal anti-missile system can completely intercept enemy missile attacks. Missiles are the best delivery vehicles for nuclear weapons. Therefore, a comprehensive anti-missile system can be called a nuclear weapon terminator under current technological conditions, holding crucial strategic significance. Real-time maintenance and updates are essential. With a guidance system in place, Lu Xiao remained behind to oversee its preparation. Within 2 days, the guidance system's instrument compartment was completed, along with other components. The engine production line was established, and several units were assembled. The missile body arrived, and with everything in place, assembly began. Hu Yangxing dispatched the most skilled welding masters from the 624th Research Institute to oversee the final welding and spray painting of the PL-15. With the final touches complete, the sharp, sleek lines of the warhead, its entirety painted in snow white, and the missile, outlined in blue, appeared before the core team. The PL-15 air-to-air missile was officially finalized. Everyone gazed with anticipation and excitement at the final, flawless product. Compared to conventional missiles, it was petite, measuring only 2.6 meters long. But only the core researchers involved in its creation understood the immense power and world-leading advanced technologies packed into this tiny body. Super fuel, super ammunition, a scramjet engine, ultra-high temperature coatings, super guidance, a super control system, and a super aircraft body. According to estimates, it has a range of 270 to 300 kilometers and a penetration speed exceeding Mach 5. Its advanced radar enables it to lock onto targets from 300 kilometers away, truly enabling beyond visual range combat. Shooting down an enemy aircraft with one missile is a routine feat. The first missile was tested, and the rest was a repetitive process. One by one, the first batch of 10 PL-15 air-to-air missiles was produced for initial testing. After application, preparation, and approval, the PL-15 received approval for its first test. And 2 days later, the official test began. Early in the morning of February 14th, 4 key figures from the 624th Institute arrived: Chu Hengyan, head of the research department; Linz Hemming, general manager of the aviation group; Liu, leader of the Air Force; and Wu, leader of the artillery. These 4 individuals were also the financial backers of the PL-15 project. As they arrived, a brand new J-20 landed at the airport. It would be the aircraft responsible for today's live fire tests. The PL-15, built with it in mind, would be truly complete with its participation. Captain Xiang Liming, the J-20's first J-20 test pilot and leader of the J-20 formation, was tasked with conducting this test. General Wu, seeing is believing. Thank you for your tremendous contribution to the Chinese Air Force. Upon seeing General Hu and Wu Tong, Air Force leader Liu quickly stepped forward, saluted them, and extended his hand to shake Wu Tong's. They then didn't overlook Hu Yangxing and Lu Xiao nearby. Thank you, General Hu and General Lu, for your unwavering support. Old Liu, you're being narrow-minded. It should be a tremendous contribution to Chinese science and technology and the Chinese military. Artillery leader Wu rebuked his old comrade and saluted simultaneously. The new super high-temperature resistant coating was escorted to a classified factory and immediately put into production. Experiments with missile modifications, new super fuels, and new super ammunition were underway, with impressive results. Both power and range were increased by 30 to 50%. With further refinement, the figures could be even higher. These figures still delight him to this day. Thank you, leaders, for your trust. We've finally lived up to your expectations. Welcome to the inspection of the new PL-15 air-to-air missile. Although this was their first meeting, They had already dealt with the internal systems before. Wu Tong handled the situation with ease, leading everyone into the monitoring room. At 9 o'clock, 10 brand new PL-15 missiles were loaded into the Weilong's ammunition bay, and the Weilong was ready for takeoff. A call-in rang out in the inspection room. Standing complete, Weilong requesting takeoff. Roger, Weilong cleared for takeoff. Air Force Commander Liu glanced at Wu Tong, and after receiving her affirmative nod, he picked up the pager and relayed the order. The dragon instantly sprang into action, its tail azure flames billowing out. After a brief glide, it soared skyward. Every time I see a dragon take off, I can't take my eyes off it. It's so impressive, General Wu, General Liu. We can't always look after the Air Force. We've already let the Air Force take the lead. When you have time, come and provide guidance on the 2nd Artillery, Army, and Navy equipment. We all eagerly await your arrival. Army Commander Lei and Navy General, I've sent you a message. They sincerely welcome you. Their forces are weak, and if they add the Army and Navy, surely the three of them will be able to suppress the now inflated Air Force. As for how to allocate top experts like Wu Tong and Lu Xiao after they lower their gazes, it depends on the will of these two experts and their own ability to strive for it. We can't always let the Air Force take the lead and become complacent. Old Wu, let me just say that back to you. You're being narrow-minded. This is the age of technology, where air combat is king. Presidents Wu and Liu are so far-sighted, how can you possibly be holding us back? The J-20 has been finalized, and we still have the J-35 to work on. We're currently preparing for the project application, and we desperately need your help. Lu Xiaogang had just delivered the J-20 beyond expectations, and Wu Tong had been digging deep into the aircraft sector since entering the military. Seeing such a promising future, they, like Hong Kong, are a family, and they can't afford to be poached by some shameless person. The Air Force's goal of starting out and leading the world lies most likely with these two great experts, so they need to be optimistic. The glorious rise of their Air Force has laid a solid foundation, and all it needs is a tailwind. Chapter 196 Leading. The two exchanged a few casual words, their central purpose for the betterment of the nation. The decision remained with Wu Tong and Lu Xiao, who simply pressed for it. There was no coercion, they had no right to force such a national treasure, a top expert. Thank you, leaders, for your kindness. I'll look forward to future collaborations. Wu Tong had no intention of settling on a specific direction. Research wasn't a limiting choice for her. As she spoke, Weilong's request echoed again. Weilong, arrive at designated airspace, requesting a bomb drop, permitted. With a command issued, Xiang Liming skillfully maneuvered the Weilong from the blue sky, completely betraying his first time operating a live bomb. The Weilong's ventral bomb bay opened, and a PL-15 launched with swift force. Its powerful thrust instantly reduced it to a trail of smoke on the horizon, with real-time information relayed back by sensors and monitoring equipment. The scramjet engine, combined with the superior design of the warhead, enabled it to achieve exceptional airspeed. Boss Wu, we've exceeded our expectations. Speed, Mach 6, range, 304 kilometers. Strike range, the thrilling measured data came in, and the core engineer reporting the data trembled with excitement. Mach 6, touching the world's fastest air-to-air missile, and the range is a quantum leap. One of the world's smallest incarnations, its strike range is firmly among the world's best, absolutely world-leading. Everyone present was kept up to date with the latest global data and developments. Comparing them horizontally and vertically, their PL-15 was undeniably world-leading. Everyone burst into applause. Leaders Wu and Liu looked at Wu Tong with increasing eagerness. A national treasure. Leader Liu's excitement surged. The beyond visual range, powerful, and maneuverable dragon, paired with the world-class PL-15, with its 300-kilometer beyond visual range strike range and Mach 6 penetration speed, combined forces would put the blue sky within their grasp. He was confident that the dragon could even surpass the 144-kill record achieved by the Raptor across the sea, doubling that to a remarkable 188. Leader Wu, while thrilled, couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. The Air Force had a significant advantage. Their artillery expressed their desire for such formidable power. With Wu Tong's expertise, if you were to research land-based cruise missiles, wouldn't he be able to push their speeds to Mach 10? He had no doubt Wu Tong possessed the capability. Even if Wu Tong didn't have the time to develop them himself, Incorporating the technology used in the PL-15 intercruise missiles would significantly increase the effectiveness of these land-based missiles. Of course, having Wu Tong research them was the ultimate hope. 10 missiles, deployed in various target areas, all successfully completed tests, marking the successful development of the PL-15 air-to-air missile. Wu Tong, thank you, Leader Liu saluted again. Thank you for adding another powerful weapon to our nation. You're welcome, Leader. This is my responsibility, and it's also the result of the tireless efforts of all project team members. Wu Tong refused to take all the credit. Although the PL-15 was her design, she couldn't have achieved this success alone without the trust and support from above and the team's sincere cooperation. She wasn't even capable of rubbing a missile by hand. Yes. Thank you to everyone involved too. Let's celebrate tonight. Leader Liu urgently arranged for a batch of supplies to be dispatched to celebrate the success of all those involved in the PL-15. Wu Tong invited the leaders to host the celebration banquet. She only appeared with the core team responsible for data collection, not envying the accolades accorded to President Hu and the other leaders. After the social gathering, Wu Tong returned to the office to carefully review each step of the preparation process, crafting a detailed itinerary and handing it over to the escort team. This time, Leader Liu would personally escort this top-secret and important information to the production plant for the PL-15's production. The information was transferred, organized, funds settled, and the report submitted. After completing the entire project completion process, another week had already passed. However, Wu Tong didn't need to oversee the entire process, nor did she need to overthink it. She only needed to give a final overview. The PL-15 had been successfully prepared, fulfilling the request that President Hu had made her. Wu Tong was delighted and took a day off to relax briefly. She had been on high alert for the past few months. As the leader of such a major project for the first time, she was trembling with fear, afraid to let down her guard, fearing she would disappoint the expectations and trust placed in her superiors. Even with her resilience, it felt a bit overwhelming. Now that the project had been successfully completed and met expectations, she could finally breathe a sigh of relief. With the final steps requiring her to confirm the process complete and all handovers and inventory complete, Wu Tong knew it was time to truly say goodbye. She had already said this goodbye to many people: Tao Ran and his team from the Compound Research Laboratory, Lu Xiao and his team overseeing the guidance device, and Engineer Su and his team responsible for the missile body. Now, it was her turn to say goodbye to the Research Institute. Mid-afternoon, the warm sun still hung in the sky, though there was a slight chill in the wind, but this didn't dampen Wu Tong's good mood. She strolled through the institute, taking a closer look at it in the daylight. She had been here for quite some time, leaving early and returning late, and even staying in the office quite a few times, but she had never really taken a good look at this place like today. And when she walked slowly along, not disturbing Wu Tong's happy relaxation, Wu Tong looked at the horizon from afar, and saw the magnificent side of the smoke rising straight from the desert and the setting sun over the long river. Today she had truly seen it. Wu Tong, Hua Yangxing came towards her. She had seen Wu Tong from the office building. Mr. Hua, good afternoon. Wu Tong felt much more relaxed after stealing half a day of leisure from Fu Ayan. At this moment, her mood was as beautiful as the sunset in the sky. Good afternoon, Wu Tong. Are you enjoying the scenery? The scenery of ours is magnificent, and the good things are all unique. Are you interested in coming here? It's just right to leave Institute 624 to you. Even though she didn't know the result, Hua Yangxing couldn't help but invite her. She was just a few years away from retirement, and while she wasn't too exhausted to work, she had no intention of leaving the career she loved. However, Institute 624 needed a younger, more capable leader to propel it toward a brighter future and continue forging powerful weapons for China. Wu Tong's remarkable success and the remarkable accomplishments of the PL-15 convinced her that he was the perfect candidate, and if he was willing, she would have the full support of her superiors. Mr. Hua, you're still in your prime, and I'm still young. I can't shoulder such a heavy responsibility just yet, and it's not my forte. I'd rather devote myself to study and research than management, so I'm sorry to disappoint you. Wu Tong shook her head slightly. Mr. Hua's sincerity was undeniable. The position of director of Institute 624 was a national priority, unattainable for many. But Wu Tong was certain that this wasn't what she wanted. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Return. She preferred the pursuit of ever-improving principles. Walking side by side with Hua Yangxing, he meticulously explained the institute's layout to Wu Tong. This should have been explained to you when you arrived, but now it's just a belated guide. Wu Tong, upon arriving, immediately plunged into her research, never pausing or slacking off. Whether she was in the office, tackling difficult problems, or in the lab, conducting experiments, she was always on the front lines, leaving no time for anything else. President Hu, I finally lived up to your expectations. Thank you for your care and support for so long. I'll return to campus tomorrow to continue my studies. My eyes are shallow, so please don't laugh at me. I won't come to say goodbye again. She had arrived quietly, and she intended to leave quietly, too, without causing any noise. However, the next morning, Wu Tong saw President Hua and several core team engineers at the door, and felt a wave of frustration. Apparently, President Hua hadn't listened and came to see her off anyway. Wu Tong, we'll take you to the airport, Hua Yangxing said with a smile. Wu Tong returned to Beijing and reported her whereabouts. Out of protection, she wasn't allowed to board a regular flight. Regular flights required identification, and with Wei Long flexing his muscles and the domestic situation uncertain, Wu Tong's name couldn't yet be associated with Zhizhao. The military transport plane that regularly brought supplies to the area arrived early and was already waiting at the airport for Wu Tong to board. Thank you, President Hu. Thank you everyone. I've learned a lot at the 624th Institute. Goodbye. Wu Tong hugged Hua Yangxing, waved to the others, and without hesitation, followed Kei and the others onto the plane. The journey is long, Wu Tong. I'll look forward to seeing you again. The farewell group, led by Hua Yangxing, waved as they watched Wu Tong board the plane. They watched as the transport plane's doors closed after Wu Tong and her group boarded. Once they had retreated to a safe distance, the plane roared and taxied down the runway, slowly lifting and steadily ascending into the sky, disappearing. The transport plane landed at the Shengjing West Military Airport. A pre-prepared Special Forces unit, tasked with escorting them, was already waiting. Wu Tong and her companions disembarked from the transport and boarded the same car that had picked her up last time. They were safely transported to their Shengjing University dormitories. It was the 20th day of the first lunar month, the 22nd day of the second lunar month. Winter vacation had long since ended, and the new semester had officially begun. Students had registered and selected courses, and classes were underway. Coming out of the intense project work, where she couldn't relax, and back into the calm and vibrant campus of her early years, Wu Tong, while not feeling completely detached, could not help but shed the pent-up solemnity, returning to a relaxed state typical of her age. The first thing she did after packing up was visit her teachers. Even when she was away, they often worried about her. Wu Tong's first stop was Professor Chang's office. Teacher, Wu Tong poked her head in. Seeing that the teacher was not busy, she pushed the door open and entered. Back? Why don't you take a break? Cheng Huinan smiled, rising and assessing Wu Tong's complexion. Not bad, he hadn't suffered any hardship in Zhizhao. Nor had he been buffeted by the wind and sand. The PL-15 had been successfully developed and manufactured, boasting exceptional performance. Because he was Wu Tong's teacher and had participated in research on new missile materials, he was well informed. This groundbreaking achievement had earned him the envy of even the most elite of circles. Having a founding disciple who excelled before, and now a younger disciple rising to the top, his life was truly worth it. A belated New Year's greeting to you in person, Wu Tong smiled, taking a seat at his teacher's invitation. I've been resting and adjusting this week, and now, back at school, I'm feeling restless, so I decided to stop by and bring you some Zhizhao specialties. President Hu prepared them for me, just a token of my appreciation. After chatting with his teacher and catching up on recent events, Wu Tong said goodbye and left the School of Material Science, heading to the School of Mathematics. Before the new year, the faculty in the School of Mathematics had helped manage her many tasks. Now that she had returned to school, it was only natural that she should report back to them. Finally, you're back. Everything went well, I hope. Pan Wenho beamed upon seeing Wu Tong. They'd been waiting day and night for Wu Tong to finally return. They'd been worried that Wu-Tong wouldn't be around long enough. If the project was delayed, it could easily take 2 or 3 years. Although Wu-Tong was known for his efficiency, this time, the matter was top secret, and they had no channels or specific sources of information, which made them a little nervous. He quickly sent for Zhou Wenping and Li Yishan to come over. From the offices upstairs and downstairs, the two men arrived quickly. "All's well, Dean Pan. Long time no see, Teacher Zhou and Teacher Li." Wu-Tong smiled and greeted, "A belated Happy New Year to you all." "Happy New Year, Happy New Year, Wu-Tong. Seeing you is the greatest blessing of the first month of the new year," and the two teachers beamed with joy. Pan Wenho pulled 3 medals and 3 certificates from a display case, carefully preserved in a special box, and handed them to Wu-Tong. "I've been keeping your medals and certificates. They're finally back to their rightful owners, and your prize money has been deposited into your account. Thank you, Dean Pan, and thank you, Teacher Zhou and Teacher Li, for your hard work again." Wu-Tong felt ashamed. She had left things to chance, leaving her teachers with so much trouble, and she had been gone for months without a word. "Such an honor, we're willing to put in the effort. Are you leaving again after this?" Dean Pan didn't want to inquire about Wu-Tong's mission, he was only interested in whether she would continue. Wu-Tong shook her head. "No, it's finished. From now on, I'm going to focus on mathematics for a while. I won't be touching material science for a while. I'll finish my math project first." She was a math student, but her name didn't live up to her name. Since she enrolled, she had been dabbling in material science, power engineering, and other aspects of the subject, spending the least time tinkering with her primary major. Wu-Tong decided to return to the purest form of mathematics and thoroughly study her math project. She hoped to produce some impressive results before graduation, deepening her mathematical knowledge and bringing honor to her teachers. "From now on, I'll definitely come to the mathematics department often. Teachers, please don't find it annoying." No, we'll welcome you." Wu-Tong's return to focusing on mathematics was fantastic news. Dean Pan and the others felt it was the best news they'd heard since the beginning of the year. "The Mathematics Research Center's offices are always open to you. You're always welcome." Zhou Wenping quickly invited Wu-Tong to visit the Mathematics Research Center more often, as it was their new flagship. "Okay, I'll report in every day and hang around you all the time. I'll probably get annoying, Teacher Zhou," Wu-Tong joked. The office erupted in laughter, but the 3 teachers were united in their belief that Wu-Tong could be constantly on the lookout for them, and no one would find her annoying. Chapter 198 Cycle. Wu-Tong always kept her word. She announced her return to mathematics and immediately took action. The Goldbach conjecture had been delayed for far too long. Sporadic research had been too fragmented, and she felt it was better to devote herself wholeheartedly. She began a regular routine, commuting between the Mathematical Research Center, the library, and her dormitory, dedicating herself to the Goldbach conjecture. She repeatedly pored over the manuscripts of her predecessors. She tried the sieve method, the circle method, and every other method that had been used to overcome the conjecture. She needed a tool to tackle the conjecture. Some people said the sieve method had reached its limit, but after experimenting with it herself, Wu-Tong disagreed. She ultimately confirmed that further progress was needed to build a solid foundation for her ascent to the summit of the Goldbach conjecture. Wu-Tong aimed to quickly research the relevant data. If all went well, she could complete the project by March, after which she might have time to return home for a while. She would then wait for a 1 to 2 month defense and prepare for graduation. The thought of being able to stay home for a month or 2 fueled Wu-Tong's enthusiasm. Every problem has an answer. Digging deep into her research, Wu-Tong was joyfully immersed. The difficulties that plagued others were merely steps to overcome, not insurmountable. Wu-Tong ultimately chose the circle method to introduce the sieve method, supplementing and innovating it. Generating functions are often used in studying many number theory problems. For example, when studying the distribution of prime numbers, we use the Dirichlet series. By applying the Perron formula, the analytical properties of f's can be used to study many multiplicative number theory problems. By more skillfully applying the circle method, previous researchers have proven that almost all even numbers satisfy the strong Goldbach conjecture. The sieve method is actually a broader idea. Using this method, we can estimate some number theory quantities. For the simplest example, if Greek letter pi, x, z, represents the number of positive integers whose magnitude does not exceed x, but whose prime factors are all greater than z. Greek letter pi, x, z, is a typical sieve function. The sieve method is a method used to estimate this type of function. The sieve method plays a key role in the Goldbach problem. More specifically, this form of sieve method is used in the study of the A, B problem. Tong pondered the sieve method and the circle method, gradually deducing how they could be cleverly combined to forge a ladder to overcome the Goldbach conjecture. The number of solutions to n equals page 1 plus page 2 plus page 3, prime numbers page 1, page 2, page 3 are all 3. The A plus B problem is ultimately a complex representation of the Goldbach conjecture. Every large even number n can be expressed as a plus b. The number of prime factors of ob does not exceed a and b, respectively. When a equals b equals 1, the problem naturally returns to the original formulation. Any even number greater than 2 can be written as the sum of two prime numbers. The 1 plus 1 form still lies in the Goldbach conjecture itself, where the number of prime factors is 1. While searching for the best way to combine the sieve method and the circle method, Tong recalled Lu Xiao's reminder to her in the library around the beginning of last year. The topological approach to the sieve method was originally an extension of Professor Zellberg's attempts to challenge the Goldbach conjecture. She recalled her own proof of infinite groups. Thoughts collided, sparking a new chapter. Tong looked out the window. The spring breeze was already blowing, warming the earth and embracing greenery. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter, the 4 seasons are a cycle, and so was the challenge of Goldbach's conjecture itself. The extremes of the sieve method, the closed orbit integrals and residue theorems of the circle method, the infinite topology of group theory, all intertwined in Tong's mind, forming a brilliant chapter. Tong's gaze fixed on the budding forsythia outside the window. She thought she had found the way to climb Mount Everest. Once the path was built, reaching the summit would be a natural progression. Tong had done so much bridge and road construction before that she was practically at home. Her pen flowed smoothly, like the steps of a mountain-climbing mountain. Over the past 6 months, while she hadn't made a radical leap into mathematical research, all her research had been grounded in mathematics. With sufficient practice, Tong had made significant progress in her mastery and understanding of mathematics. Now, truly engaging in mathematical research was like adding fuel to a fire, instantly spreading across the prairie. The progress was smooth, exceeding Tong's expectations, a natural progression of gradual progress. Tong wasn't as overwhelmed by inspiration as before, toiling away all night. Instead, she seemed to be in a state of ecstasy every day. She still stuck to her routine, but Kei and the others who followed her could see that something was not right with her. She seemed to be lost in her own world. Kei and the others, already familiar with Tong's unusual state, were not surprised by her unusual state this time. However, they still responded swiftly, assigning An Wenshu as Tong's public assistant, accompanying her and helping her avoid potential interruptions along the way. At the research center, they contacted Professor Zhou, who then managed to prevent any interruptions from the mathematical research center. Tong remained immersed in this special state, resting, eating, and researching over and over again for a week. Thick manuscripts piled up on Tong's desk. As luck would have it, she put pen to paper on the final stroke of the proof she had named the sieve method. The dawn of conquering the mathematical chasm of the Goldbach conjecture, the crown jewel of number theory, had begun. Professor Zhou, starting tomorrow I'm going into seclusion to focus on solving the Goldbach conjecture. I won't be coming to the mathematical research center for the time being. Later, Tong knocked on Professor Zhou's office door across the street and reported in. Zhou Wenping, who was reviewing student papers, had been so impressed by Tong's achievements that he had to maintain a sense of composure whenever he saw a student's paper. There was only one Tong, and not everyone was a superstar student like her. Just as he was thinking about Tong's recent extraordinary research, and how he might soon deliver another world-shaking achievement, he saw Tong push the door open. A look of astonishment crossed his face. Tong, you've already figured out the guess? He didn't dare ask. Tong had only been back for less than 10 days. If he had already conquered the guess, he felt he'd need a quick fix. Not so fast, Professor Zhou. Tong's words made Zhou Wenping's heart settle a little. He had said that if the guess was so easy to solve, it wouldn't have taken centuries for anyone to achieve a breakthrough. But then Tong added, I found a way, a method to conquer the JGS. All that's left is to retreat and apply it to the proof. Professor Joe, just wait a week or two for my surprise. Ah, what a surprise. Solving the JGS in just a week or two? Chapter 199 Charge. Joe Wenping felt as if his usually lucid mind was being shaken to pulp by shock. It wasn't until he watched Wu Tong leave that he finally regained consciousness. He grabbed the phone and dialed. Director Pan. Even through the line, Pan Wenho could sense Joe Wenping's fluttering excitement and couldn't help but warn him, Wenping, take it easy, be careful with your heart and blood vessels. After all, he was approaching 50, not as young and strong as before, so he had to take precautions. Someone they knew had previously burst a blood vessel in a fit of excitement. Although life-saving treatment saved his life, he was left with hemiplegia, his research career tragically ending. I'm taking it easy. Joe Wenping took several deep breaths. Faced with such shocking news, his reaction was quite restrained. Director Pan, Wu Tong says we can solve the Goldbach conjecture in about 2 weeks. What? Pan Wenho abruptly stood up, wondering if he had misheard. Joe Wenping repeated with a smile, Wu Tong said she expects to solve the Goldbach conjecture within 2 weeks. If anyone else had said that to them, they would have told them to go away and calm down. But when it was Wu Tong who said that, anything was possible. Wu Tong never boasted, her motto was to follow through on her words. Her previous astonishing achievements were the best proof of her ability. Wu Tong said she's developed the tool to solve the Goldbach conjecture. The dragon-slaying sword is complete. Now she's back in the dorms, concentrating on solving it. Dean Pan, you should take it easy. Joe Wenping slowed down his speech as he reported, fearing to alarm his elderly superior. Now it was his turn to worry. Mr. Pan, don't get too excited, as it would increase the risk of a ruptured blood vessel. We all need to take good care of our health and wait for Wu Tong to produce his results. Let's savor them slowly. Don't get too excited. Take care of yourselves. We'll see Wu Tong create even greater miracles in the future. Aren't you looking forward to seeing him solve the Millennium Problem? Looking forward to it? Looking forward to it. I'm going to keep my body in excellent shape and live another 10 or 20 years, just to see our Chinese miracle. Pan Wenhua, like Joe Wenping, took a deep breath to suppress his rising excitement, his heart filled with anticipation. Don't tell anyone yet. Wait until Wu Tong publishes the actual results. Although they were certain Wu Tong could solve the Jet conjecture, research wasn't always smooth sailing. Even a 2-day delay was important, and they couldn't let anyone know that Wu Tong was arrogant. They had to wait until Wu Tong had truly proven his results and confirmed them to be correct before they could announce them. That would be a great story. As teachers, they couldn't guide Wu Tong on academic matters, so they still had to keep a close eye on these trivial matters. Okay, Dean Pan, you're the only one who knows about this right now. Wu Tong packed up her manuscript and headed back to the dormitory. And Wenchu, attentive and noticing Wu Tong's unusual day, greeted her with a smile. Thank you, Sisterin, for looking after me these past few days. Although Wu Tong remained absorbed in her own thoughts, she wasn't completely oblivious to the outside world. It's not hard, your research is important. This was her duty. She was considered educated within the department. But math problems were still incomprehensible to her. As Wu Tong's closest protector, she understood better than anyone else the astonishing nature of each of his achievements. Therefore, attentiveness was essential. Caring for Wu Tong well, without wavering, was a credit. I'll be in seclusion for the next 2 weeks working on my final research project. I'll likely be staying in the dormitory and won't be leaving, Wu Tong had informed An Wenshu in advance. Without her leaving the dormitory, An Wenshu could also relax and rest. Secretary An Wen prepared to manage Wu Tong's 3 meals a day. When Wu Tong was busy, tackling difficult problems was her focus, and ensuring logistical support was her priority. After greeting all parties, Wu Tong rested for a good night, followed by a morning exercise, and then began her final research on the Goldbach conjecture. A craftsman must first sharpen his tools before he can do his job well. Now that the tools were sharp, all that remained was to reach the core. Although she was currently standing at the foot of the Mount Everest of Goldbach, the summit seemed unattainable. Wu Tong remained confident. Through the whole experience of multiple projects and subjects, Wu Tong was no longer the naive child who had just proven Zhou's conjecture. Her ample knowledge had forged her strong confidence, and her numerous project leadership roles had matured her convictions, making them unshakable. She understood, and she understood. It was like the sudden enlightenment in martial arts novels and biographies, or the sudden enlightenment in immortal heroes. That feeling was hard to describe. In a nutshell, the time was ripe, and the east wind was not lacking. She believed that many of her predecessors had shared her unwavering conviction. For example, Mr. Deline, when proving the wheel conjecture, and Mr. Andrew Wiles, when tackling Fermat's last theorem, all had this same conviction. Without even a sliver of self-belief, nothing could be accomplished. Finally, about to personally top off the mathematical edifice of Gux, Wu Tong wasn't complacent. Instead, she approached this final challenge with an open mind, feeling honored, and the utmost care. A replacement refill was at hand. She tore through a stack of scratch paper and set it aside on the corner of her desk. With everything ready, Wu Tong grasped her pen like a sword, firmly beginning her deductions. Her thoughts flowed freely, and Wu Tong once again entered her previous state of mind, continuing her naturally successful research. Every challenge she encountered along the way became a stepping stone for her upward progress. Step by step, she ascended from the foot of Gux, the Everest of Mount Everest, to the midpoint, and then to the summit in her final push. "Hey, Joe, why haven't I heard from our little eastern sun lately?" On a spring afternoon, under the warm sun, Joe Wemping was in his office when he received a long-distance call from across the sea. "The mathematical world has been quiet lately. Perhaps everyone is digesting the new findings of the past year, or perhaps they're gathering strength and quietly working on some difficult problem. Andrew Wiles feels a bit bored and lonely lately, even considering quitting his job at Princeton and accepting his country's invitation to return to Oxford University to teach. The Chinese believe in returning to one's roots, and after being away from England for so long, he actually misses the gloomy, foggy city he once complained about. A wandering prodigal must always return home, and he's reached an age where he can enjoy his retirement. With no new voices in the mathematical world, he can't help but miss the shock he felt last year when Wu Tong performed several miracles." Chapter 200, Reaching the Summit. Wu Tong is still working on her research project. "You know, we don't set any limits on her and support her pursuits." Joe Wemping looked out the window at the bright sunshine. The rarefied weather in March was as bright as his anticipation for Wu Tong. There were still 2 days left before the 2 weeks Wu Tong had promised. Even if it was overdue, it didn't matter. Joe Wemping didn't intend to rush her, they could afford the wait. Since Wu Tong already had a direction, even if there were slight deviations, with timely corrections, she could still reach the other side of success. He thought, if anyone were to be asked who was most likely to prove the Goldbach conjecture within this century, it would undoubtedly be Wu Tong. What? Andrew Wiles stared in disbelief at the latest update to the ArcSiv database popping up on his computer screen. Refreshing ArcSiv daily to keep up with new mathematical developments was his hobby. It allowed him to stay up to date on the latest achievements of his peers. While other scholars and professors might delegate this task to their students, Andrew preferred to browse and review it himself. It was part of the joy of his daily mathematical connection. Any even number greater than 2 can be expressed as the sum of 2 prime numbers. Isn't this Goldbach's conjecture? Who solved and proved it? Andrew Wiles immediately saw the author's name, Wu Tong. This was the name he had set up for special alerts, so that new developments would pop up immediately, rather than being lumped into the general category. If it had been anyone else, Andrew might have thought it was a joke, but since it was Wu Tong, his expression suddenly became solemn. The shadow of the tree of life, Wu Tong's achievements were displayed there. Joe, Wu Tong proved the Goldbach conjecture, Andrew Wiles' words, seemingly mumbling to himself, but also like a question, came from the microphone. He had heard that Wu Tong, while researching the Goldbach conjecture, had entered a unique, Eastern research mode known as seclusion, meaning to refrain from contact with the outside world and focus solely on research. For this reason, even the 3 major awards she received last year had to be accepted on her behalf by school teachers, and she did not attend the awards ceremony. He assumed Wu Tong's pursuits were typical of geniuses. Any mathematician studying number theory couldn't resist the allure of Goldbach's conjecture, following in the footsteps of their predecessors. He had every confidence in Wu Tong and highly respected her academic prowess. He had no doubt she would achieve significant success with the conjecture. Just like how Wu Tong, with her diverse interests, had previously challenged the limit solution of nonlinear equations in the NS equations, formulating them in a different way and opening a new chapter in this field. However, He had never expected Wu Tong to conquer the Goldbach conjecture in such a short time, less than 6 months after her last achievement, and reach the summit of Mount Everest. What? Zhou Wenping was also stunned. Wu Tong proved it. She had already proved it in less than 2 weeks. This news left Zhou Wenping stunned, his heart pounding with joy and excitement. Andrew would be able to see it there first. Zhou Wenping, with his last shred of sanity, determined it was on the preprint site Arxiv. He hurriedly opened Arxiv. Wu Tong has proved the Goldbach conjecture and has posted it to Arxiv. Zhou, please excuse me while I hang up and verify Wu's proof. I'm sure you're feeling the same way right now. Andrew Wiles, thinking the signal was bad, repeated himself before anxiously hanging up. The proof of the Goldbach conjecture was truly earth-shattering news. As those who followed Wu Tong or those who followed Arxiv discovered the paper, they were all stunned and incredulous, and the impact continued to spread. 2 days ago, Wu Tong was writing with increasing energy, pen in hand, as she worked on the final steps. On her desk lay several thick stacks of manuscripts, the fruits of her labor obviously. We have px1, 1, n equals p1m1, xna, 27 from equation 27, we can introduce theorem 7, theorem 8, theorem 9, and prove that theorem 1 holds. Theorem 1 is the Goldbach conjecture inner proof, which states that for any sufficiently large even number n, there exist prime numbers a and b, which can be written as the sum of a plus b. Taking the last step up, Wu Tong reached the summit, overlooking the mountains. The feeling of exhilaration was infinite and beautiful. She had proved and conquered the Goldbach conjecture, hailed as the crown jewel of number theory. Absolute direction and absolute deduction both verified that she had truly done it. If mathematics had levels. After 6 months of accumulation and sedimentation, she felt as if she had suddenly become enlightened, and had reached a new realm. The enlightenment stone tablet rippled in the depths of her sea of consciousness, as if celebrating and cheering for her. A trickle of warm current overflowed from it, soaking and baptizing her body from top to bottom. The energy consumed by her intense deductions was instantly replenished. A slight swelling sensation filled her mind, and she could sense the space in her sea of consciousness expanding by a factor of 2. Wu Tong's physical fitness also strengthened, reaching a new level. She was virtually immune to illness, no longer plagued by her current ailments. Her vitality was enhanced, and any minor injuries quickly recovered. This was the enlightenment steel replenished once again by Wu Tong's efforts, granting her a share. It and Wu Tong were one, sharing weal and woe. With her energy restored, Wu Tong struck while the iron was hot and began editing her paper, transforming her deductions into coherent paper for publication as soon as possible. She worked tirelessly on the paper, including the sieve method. For 2 full days and 2 nights, with only a few breaks for meals, she worked tirelessly, swiftly editing the entire argument into a nearly 60 to 70 page paper. After completing the final translation, Wu Tong submitted the paper to her most familiar mathematical journal, the Annals of Mathematics, and simultaneously uploaded it to the preprint site Arxiv. Wu Tong breathed a long, refreshing sigh of relief. Finally, she had completed another project, putting an end to a long-held concern. The completion of this proof also means that she has embarked on the countdown to graduation, and she is about to graduate. Although, for such a major achievement to be recognized by the outside world, it will take a long time for the review and verification to be published, and it may even take 1 to 2 years or even longer to be recognized by the International Union of Mathematicians and transformed into Wu's theorem. However, for Wu Tong, these are all incidental. The most important thing is that she did it and completed it. Last year, she used this as a pretext, and it was finally no longer an excuse, but a fact that she had done it. As for recognition and verification, she would leave it to time to settle. She had enough confidence that she had really succeeded. After completing this project, she was busy from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and she hardly stopped. She can finally announce that she will take a temporary leave and go back to be with her family. She will ask later if there are any restrictions on her freedom. If there are no restrictions, she will book a ticket home immediately. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.